especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy, do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
Is the next search on February 28, 2020, 7:44 p.m. How period does the FBI find people? The people is misspelled P-E-O-O-P-L-E. Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Oh, she found out.
Okay, so I'm new at all this. There's a lot of buttons here to push, and apparently I was pushing the wrong ones. Yes, I apologize. Oops, sorry. Let's see. We are coming back there. Waiting for that. Done here. All right, we're ready to go. Good morning, or good afternoon, I guess it is now. It's almost evening. It's nearly evening, and we should be doing well. Got really loud. The problem was I had all my courtroom adjustments for the audio turned on to my intro, which never works well. So I turned up the volume to adjust for it, and then I turned off the adjustments, and it blew everyone's eardrums. So send your class action lawsuit claims to Matthew Harris. I think he's handling this one. This court breaks too much. It does. First and foremost, though, we have to say welcome to sample user. Just kidding. Amanda, you were first in chat. This afternoon. Congratulations on being first in chat. That is awesome. We're so excited to have you be here first, and all excited to talk and everything. Unfortunately, you may not have known this, but you broke the rules. You broke the law. You broke the silence. And because you just blurted out hi amidst a perfectly silent, perfectly fine chat room, look what happened as a result. Look at all the text that came as a result of you saying hi. Because of that, we're going to send it to you. We're going to punish you for your actions with internet ownership. We're going to assign you to be the one to maintain everything IP related worldwide. So if anyone has trouble, if say Fox 11 out of California loses their guy on a police chase and they can't find him, they're going to call you because the internet knows things like that. So, would that happen today? It did happen today. Anyway, congratulations, Amanda. If you would like a copy of a certificate commemorating this offense and it going on your permanent record, you can go to our YouTube page, click on the shopping tab, and for the low fine of 50 cents, you can download your own fill-in-the-blank copy of your internet ownership certificate, pre-signed by me and my boss, Mrs. R.A. So we are, helps if I'm there. I'm here now. We can begin now. We are getting ready to go back to court. IP like intellectual property. Let's wrap that in as well, Mathis. Let's include that as well. Like AT&T data breach. I'm still waiting for my letter, Nosy Rosie. I'm positive I was included in that 73 million individual who had everything given away. But that's not the first time. I've worked for the federal government when they lost all my data as well, and they lost the form that had not just my data, but every bit of data from everybody I've ever met and known, and every address I've ever lived at around the world. I kid you not. It's like, what is it, 76 pages of information about me and everybody I know, and they lost it all. Oops, sorry. All right. By lost, I mean it was hacked. It was stolen. Ready for this trial to keep going towards a conclusion, Sherry? I think we are going to get closer to that today. We're going to start again with a cross-examination of the medical examiner. I said I had added a vowel in there somewhere. But the medical examiner comes up on cross here as soon as lunch is over, which should be in about 9 minutes, roughly. 9 minutes. Yeah, it's scary, but I've become so numb to my personal information being stolen and traded on the internet. I'm pretty sure that's how I get on all these caller ID, all these shopping lists, whatever. The people that call me, the scam, and try to sell me stuff because they know all these things about me, like that my name's Dwayne and that I have some meth house for sale in where I've never lived. Yeah, all that stuff. Anyway, Let's see. Watching so many baddies getting a slap on the wrist and charges drop. Who remembers being kept in line by the threat of a black mark next to our name in school? It was just we had the 3 check mark rule. The 3rd check mark, I was down in the principal's office, and that never happened. But I've had 2 check marks, and I know what that did. Oh my. Okay. Medical examinator. Yes, it's like the Terminator. She makes final conclusions, and if you're not concluded by that time, she'll conclude you. I'll worry about that when the FBI loses their data, and it won't be the current to about 1973, because that's when I filled out those forms, although I'm sure the FBI kept them up to date. It's one of those things where they can't even tell you what they lost. It's like, we have a lot of information on you, and it got stolen, but we can't tell you what it is because it's classified. I'm like, but it's my information. Yeah, but we can't tell you. My name is Dwayne? Yes. Some people think my name is Dwayne. Some callers think my name is Dwayne. Okay. All right. Where are we at? I'm waiting for Judge Boyce, actually, if he could get his act together and get his live stream running properly. His live stream is a mess. He has this morning's live stream, and that's the Chad Daybell trial. He's got his morning's live stream still up, even though he normally says he deletes it the second it's over. So that's still up. That's a good thing. I wish he kept it up for the entire trial. Then he has one that's supposed to start at 10:30 this morning, and one that started a while before, but it's private, and nobody ever viewed it, and that's still up. So he's got just a mess on YouTube out there, and nobody knows when the next live is going to happen. Do we watch the one that said it was going to start at 10:30? I don't know. Did you cough up all the dust from your lungs? No, I just washed it down with a little humidity, try to solidify it, maybe form a brick in my lungs. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, what do we have here? I need to turn on that so their ears don't get blown out again, and this so that it sounds good. And then that is on. Reset the volume so we can hear court when it begins. There we go. Now I don't want Chad Daybell's volume unless I'll put it audio follows video. I don't know where Judge Boyce is. I assume they're coming back. I think he said something about coming back at 2 for more jury deliberation or jury selection. But I just don't know. They're done for the day. All the stuff with the lawyers will be unpublished for the rest of today. Didn't they say they were starting something at 2? I think they're done for the day night out. That's great news. That's fabulous news if they're done. Yay. Daybell's done. Okay. In that case, let me use channel 2 for what I want to do here. Bingo. There we go. 2's on 3, and audio's set, configured. Left and right channel on, and turn that off. Now I can use channel 3 for other things. All right. Lots of tech happening today. I repeat, they're not coming back with video this afternoon. The stuff with lawyers is to be private. All right. That's what the 3 A's are for. We have 2 witnesses to go today. That's in the Arizona trial. We have 2 more. We might end early, which should be good because I've got some people that want me to do some consulting on cameras this evening, on different types of cameras for meetings. How was your lunch, everybody? I guess I forgot to ask. How was lunch? Did everybody have I did a tomato basil soup. Tomato basil soup. I would say I cooked it from scratch, but really I just opened up the sealed bottle, the jar. What is it? The little small bucket you buy of soup at Sam's Club. You guys buy soup by the bucket, right? So I did that. I just got the Sam's Club soup and threw it in the microwave and heated it. It was good. Apples and peanut butter snack. Lunch popcorn for Michelle. Yes, it was from Sam's. It's not a can. It's like it looks like a yogurt container. It's like a large yogurt container, but it's got soup in it. It's not a bowl. It's not a bucket. It's definitely not a can. I don't know what else to call it. A cart is carton. Had a banana, almond M&Ms, healthy choice. You had the mix of both the dairy and the nuts, a little protein. Not as good as the jury's, says Bug Jugger. They had medical examiner pictures and whatever the court brought in. Grilled cheese, wish I had it with soup. Oh, that's a good match. Grilled cheese and tomato soup. You know what else is good? Don't knock this until you've tried it. With tomato soup, and I'm thinking like Campbell's tomato soup, which is out of a can, but you use milk to make it instead of water. Can't do 50-50. It has to be like vitamin D milk. Makes it really creamy. Hard-boiled eggs sliced up and put in your tomato soup. I swear it is delicious. It's unbelievable. That or a whole package of Ritz, not Ritz, but saltine crackers. Crush them until it's pulverized, and then mix it in until it's like a slop, and then you eat it like a pig. And it tastes yummy. Plenty of salt. It's not healthy. It tastes good. Chicken nuggets, leftover Chinese food, a plastic tub. Okay, Ashley, this is the closest one I can think of, but I think bucket sounds more appetizing than tub. I heard a news story once of a guy who made his own barbecue sauce, and it was like world renowned, and people tried it, and they were giving him all sorts of rewards and awards and stuff. And finally, somebody wanted to see how he did it, and he made it at home, and he made it in his bathtub. So disgusting. So I can't think of tub without thinking like that. All right. Oh, Sam's Sushi. I had Sam's Sushi last week. I did. The spicy California rolls is what I had. I don't do any of their raw fish ones. Like a deli container. Yeah, I can do a deli container. But you think of deli container more as just, I guess they're all disposable. Protein shake for Dream of Laundry. PB sandwich and stable chores. It's a plastic container. Sounds like a milk-covered cake kind of thing. Don't knock it till you've tried it. A Boost and jalapeno chips. Boiled eggs. Wow. No, it's good. It's good. I tell you, it's yummy. Try it. It will. I'm not saying it will change your life, but anyway. Enough lunch talk. We're all full. Hopefully everyone is full. Hope you all got to have a wonderful lunch, and street tacos. Had a hamburger, but had it during their 30-minute break. I can confirm milk in the tomato soup. Tisha, you're with me. Now you just have to go the extra mile and do the sliced hard-boiled eggs. Had a shave. Who said I had a shave? Beef pot pie. Great hot dogs. All right. We're ready to return to court in just a moment. I think it's got about 5 seconds before we expect them to come back, which means they'll be back in about 15 minutes. So, starting to question your dietary choices. Mr. Fix-It, why would you do that? Currently cooking dinner. Lunch was long ago. Breakfast, fried rice over here for dinner. Eating dinner now. Baby potatoes baked in the oven in barbecue spices. Delicious. I've never heard of eggs and tomato soup. Challenge accepted. Hard-boiled eggs. You can't do like soft-boiled. It has to be a hard-boiled egg. So the full 10-minute timer on boil. I suggest you actually make them in your Instant Pot because the egg just like it peels itself. You crack it and it's just like boop, and it's perfect. It's like one of the eggs that come from the stores that pre-peeled. It's not like all torn apart like mine normally look like. But Instant Pot hard-boiled eggs. Dice them or slice them. Don't dice them. So you want the slices. And then in the tomato soup it goes. Let's see. Weather Watch says, Recovery Addict and I will likely never cook a meal for one another. We eat very different food is what you're saying. Yeah. Speaking of Weather Watch, oh my goodness. Crazy stuff going on. Let's see. Do we have audio here? Just in time for that. We'll turn the volume down here. The jury is not even there. The jury is not even here yet, and they're already using their headphones, like we're trying to keep a secret from somebody. Weather Watch, I'm so excited for this next podcast. You heard yesterday we made the announcement about the change in the format, where we're going to go straight politics, just talking about all the political events of the day. Now we're back in bars. That's a bars and tone. That's a signal that cameras send to help us tune the transmission. Tisha, thank you. Think you'd like food from the Balkans? Weather Watch has now left the room. Moved my weeds. Okay, weeds have been moved. For those of you that are wondering what I'm talking about the podcast, we did a April Fool's joke yesterday where we said the podcast was going to be straight politics all the time, and of course it won't be. That would be awful. You know what? Let me switch to this one. Boom, boom, boom. Box source one. Whoops. Box source 3. 3 will be 2. Ready, set, go. There we go. I like the lighting on this feed better. Have you ever tried mustard pickles? No, I have not.
You can have the witness go first.
You may bring the witness. All right, they're going over more jury questionnaires so they can get the next pool of jurors ready. How many more jurors were included in the pool? Did they get up? Did they get up a few more? He's got plenty of weather stories.
The record to show the presence of all jurors, counsel, and defendant, and witnesses who take their stand. Thank you, doctor. And as soon as the witness is ready, and the defense is ready, you can cross-examine.
Try to make the audio a little bit better.
Dr. Tim, are you settled in?
Are you buckled up?
Yes. Is this on? No. Now is it?
There you go.
Good afternoon, Dr. Tim.
Good afternoon.
Let's go back over some of the evidence and talk about a few other things that might have been brushed over or not mentioned, okay?
Sure.
She like locks eyes with a jury and won't look at anyone else.
So back on January 30th, you learned that there was a deceased in a possible incident, correct?
Correct.
When did you actually learn of it?
Most likely at the morning meeting on the day of the autopsy.
Okay, what day again was that?
Threw it away. Why'd you throw it?
February 1st, 2023.
Okay, so I know that the body arrives. In what time period did the body arrive to your location?
I do not know. That would be documented within the case file, but that's not something that I keep track of in my records.
Okay, but is it in the file itself?
Yes.
Do you know where that might be located? Where it might be noted?
Body receival time?
Yes, please. Can you look?
I don't have the case file.
Oh, you don't have the report?
I have my report.
But not the full file?
Correct.
Okay. Now, can you just raise up so I can see the report, the size of the report that you're looking at? It's pretty thin.
Page and a half. 6 pages. What do we got?
There's 7 pages of my report.
Okay. So at this time, Your Honor, I'd like to approach the witness. I have on exhibit, defense exhibit AAA. I just want to show it to her.
I don't know. It seems strange that the witness doesn't look that direction. Careful, cameraman.
I
Careful.
have some Post-its in it, so that's just for my references, okay? But can you identify what this full document is? Just look through it, peruse it, and then tell me if you know what it is.
She's going to look at every page. It's like 700 pages.
There's an affidavit on the front page. There's a copy of my CV.
Which is very much like a resume for anyone that doesn't know that term, correct?
Yes. There's a copy of
She's going through page and
autopsy report for the decedent.
So now we see she's wearing an Apple Watch Series 4 with a little bangle on it.
Toxicology report.
This cameraman is doing the long zoom. She's not married. No ring. No ring. I'm not sure. I have the same nail color. This how much zoom is too much zoom? I'm asking for a friend.
Looks like the contents of the case file, probably. Fingerprints of the decedent.
She's going through every page. She really is.
Identification card, copy of.
This is the full file she's reviewing, not just her report.
Copy of the disc.
Everything that went in there.
And some photographs.
Do those photographs look familiar?
Small earthquake in the courtroom. We're now live from the airport. The cameraman's playing with the audio settings. There's a lot of pictures.
Yes, they're autopsy photographs for the decedent.
Would that be the ones that you talked about that you took?
Yes.
That were not in her report.
And there's pictures of property, it looks like, and tattoos.
Which was the tattoos were found on the decedent's body?
Yes. And a photograph of the decedent.
Okay. You didn't bring this full file, did you?
That's correct.
Okay, so if you need it for any reason to reference it, please let me know, okay?
Yes.
So you just brought in a few pages of your ultimate findings, right?
I brought in my autopsy report.
Okay, but you're responsible for the other things that were in this full file, right? Like the photos.
Our office is.
Okay, but you took the photos, correct?
I took some of those photos, yes.
Okay. Well, you didn't say these were detective photos, did you?
No, but there's other people employed in my office that take photographs as well.
But you are the lead in this medical examination of this deceased, correct?
I'm the physician who performed the autopsy.
Okay.
She cannot just say yes.
And so you also helped with collecting any stuff like blood or other fluids of the body, right?
I collected blood for toxicology testing and vitreous fluid and urine for toxicology testing at the time of autopsy.
And the lab came back and gets put into the file, correct?
The results of the testing are put into a toxicology report that is returned to us and becomes part of the file.
And it was in here, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I'm referencing again, AAA, Defense AAA. So a file is created upon receiving a person for a possible autopsy, and then the different areas come together, work together, and create this file, basically. Would that be a simplistic way of saying it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and I do like to keep it somewhat simplistic because, you know a lot, you're a doctor, you have a lot of education, don't you?
I'm a physician.
Okay, a medical doctor, is that the same thing?
Sure.
Okay. And you've never talked to me before, have you?
No.
Okay.
Why the
You're not
attitude?
angry at me for any reason, are you?
No.
Okay, thank you. Now, let me understand something. You did your work, started conducting your work, you said on February 1st, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And yet, the deceased was probably transferred upon death and brought to your department, your office. Would that be fair to say?
Can you repeat the question, please?
If a police department, law enforcement suspect some foul play or something and want to get an autopsy, they're going to probably bring it directly to your organization?
Yes.
Okay. And so January 30th, a body was discovered, and then somewhere within hours or whatever happened, the medical examiner's office would receive it either later on January 30th or very early on January 31st, correct?
Yes.
And I'm going to assume that a body is placed in a cooler of some sort, correct?
Typically, yes.
Okay. And it's an individual cooler. I've never been to your establishment, but where the body is laying on a table and slides into this cooler?
It's not an individual cooler. It's a large walk-in cooler.
Okay. How do you keep bodies separated?
They're
Gotta
in
keep
body
them
bags on
separated.
individual tables.
Okay. And they all are ID'd, I would assume, correct?
No. We have a lot of unidentified individuals.
Do you give it a number?
Yes.
Okay, so it is ID'd in some format, whether you know who they are before or something that you do internally, correct?
They're given an identification number, yes.
Okay, I didn't say name, ma'am, I said ID'd. All right, so identification, ID is short for identification, correct?
The spice
Yes.
is coming out.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's so you don't mix up bodies and get the wrong results, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that wouldn't be very good if you had results of someone else's autopsy for this body. That wouldn't be very good, would it?
No.
So there are internal controls to prevent that. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Now, does the fact that, and I don't know, I'm going to rely on your expertise here. Does the fact that a body that's placed in some form of cooler, does that change the timeline of things that one would expect to see as you go through the breakdown of decomposing upon death?
What was the question?
Does the refrigeration, the cooler, help change or alter or prevent anything about the decomposing of a body after, passing on?
Bodies are cooled to slow the decomposition process.
Thank you. Okay, so isn't it true, though, that there are a process of decomposing that happens upon death of each of us?
Decomposition occurs after death.
And that is a changing process?
It's a process of decomposition.
And does it stay the same or does it change?
Wow.
In comparison to what?
Well, how about
Being
overall
alive.
appearance, overall temperature, all the things that you think about when it comes to rigor, stuff like that?
Eye roll.
I'm not sure what the question is.
When a person passes, does the body change through the different process that the body goes through, whether it's rigor, body temperature, and other things that you might expect to see as the body starts to decompose?
There are changes that the body goes through after death that are part of the decomposition process.
Okay, thank you.
These two don't like each other. I think the witness does not like being
Let's start
challenged.
off. What was the time of death on this, please?
The time of death is 1824 hours.
So 6:24 p.m. That's right around that sunset, or well, it might have been.
Okay, so you in this report notes
what the
that it's
sunset is like.
1824 exact, correct?
That's the time of death.
Okay. And what is, let's clarify for anyone, one that is not military time savvy, what does 1824 mean?
6:24 p.m.
Okay. And what does it mean by exact?
That's the time the body was pronounced dead.
Okay. And 1824 is 6:24 p.m., not a.m., correct?
p.m.
And do you know where that comes from?
The pronouncement time
Yes, please.
is when someone has notified the overseeing agency that has someone that pronounces them dead.
Okay.
I'm not sure what happens in Santa Cruz County, who pronounces death here.
Okay. Now, you testified that you gather information, and the state asked you some questions about it. Hold on one second. And then you try to basically, take this information that you gather and then determine how it fits with what your findings are, right?
Generally speaking, yes.
Correlating was the word that the state used. Remember that?
Yes.
And you defined it?
Yes.
Okay. And when you saw, I'm gonna call him Gabriel because I think it's easier for you to say it too. The deceased named Gabriel. Were you able to determine when you looked at the body, how long has the body been dead? I mean, are you able to assess if that's an accurate time?
That's the time of pronouncement.
Okay. What did you find?
I documented the postmortem findings in that the body was cold, that rigor mortis was fully fixed in the muscles of the jaw and extremities, and there was faint fixed pink rigor mortis over the posterior surface of the body, except in areas exposed to pressure.
And what does that tell you?
So those are the postmortem changes that are examined on the decedents that come into our office upon death. people cool to ambient temperature. So if you're in a warmer environment, your body is going to eventually cool to the temperature of that environment. The muscles become fixed after people die, and that's the rigor mortis. They become fixed up into a point in which they reach their maximum fixed. And when I say fixed, it means that if you try to manipulate the body, you won't be able to, or you'll have to use great force to counteract the fixation of those muscles in that position. So there's a certain point where it's going to reach its maximum, and then it's going to start to fade away again. And then the third is the lividity or livor mortis, which is the pooling of the blood after death. It is the discoloration that you see, can be misinterpreted for bruising, but it's really just like a purplish pink color of the blood pooling on the dependent surfaces. So gravity plays a role there in which you see that discoloration, but blood cannot pool in areas that are up against something firm. So you'll see areas of pallor or paleness that are up against a firm surface, so the blood can't come there. Up until about 12 hours, when you push on it, it will push away, and so it blanches. After around 12 hours, after you push on it, it won't go away. So these are all things that we examine to help understand how long someone may have been dead, with the caveat that they're all variable from individual to individual, and they're influenced by environmental factors. They're influenced by why the person is dead. So someone who is...
Okay, let me ask you another question. That was very thorough, thank you. But let's break that down a little bit. That's a lot of information for people that don't understand the science like you know it. So the question was going back to when you get to see the body, when you started to perform your autopsy, which of those levels or timelines was this body at that point in time when you started?
Well, we know that the body was pronounced dead at 6:30, 6:24 the night prior. I did the autopsy at 8:30 a.m. And the body had been in a cooler, and I document the body was cold. Makes sense.
So does that not make it difficult to know about the hour timeline that has taken place? Let me give you an example. Maybe this will be more clear for you to understand me. My understanding is that if the body's warm and stiff, that may represent a certain amount of hours, say 3 to 8 hours. Don't know if I'm exact, correct me if I'm not right. So the fact that the body's been in the cooler, how would you know if it's been within 3 to 8 hours, if that was true?
Typically, if that's a concern, that's something that should be assessed at the scene. If there is a concern as to the time of the injury versus the time of death, that would be something that would be assessed at the scene. Because
so let me ask you about that, because that's a good point. If time was an issue, okay, could someone get to you being the medical examiner, okay? Could law enforcement get to you expressing the urgency in determining the time by having you look at the body, urgent?
We employ a team of investigators, medical legal death investigators, that respond to scenes where there's people that are deceased that will examine the postmortem changes and document that. That's in Pima County.
Okay, in an event they used your county for hypothetical purposes, if that was an issue before law enforcement, they could get someone to either come out to the scene or look at the body as upon its arrival. How would that might look like?
I mean, I imagine they could make a request for somebody to respond to a scene.
Okay.
But again, these findings are variable, and it's not an exact science.
I understand that, but if you put a body in a cooler, you're taking away any chances of having some sort of estimate of time that the body has been deceased, correct?
In assessing exact postmortem changes, that's not even an exact science.
I understand, but there's usually a range that goes with it. For example, if the body's warm and stiff, some of the research that I've seen says it could be 3 to 8 hours. If that was true, let me go to the next one. Correct me anywhere where I'm just totally off. If the body is cold and stiff, now you might go from 8 to 36 hours. And then the last one is an example. If it's cold and not stiff, now you've gone past that rigor stage and now you're at 36 plus hours. So it is a range, correct?
Yeah, those are ranges that I've seen in the literature.
Okay. And so by putting a body into the cooler, so to speak, I'm sure you have a better name than I do, you're altering the potential of showing the warmth of that body, meaning the body might be fresh within, if those numbers were correct, 3 to 8 hours, rather than now being altered with a cooler that might show it's cold and stiff, changing the times from 8 to 36. Isn't that possible?
Yeah, it's going to be cooled because it's in a cooler, but we also know there's a passage of time.
So when someone just gets put into the medical examiner's, placed into the cooler until the time of the autopsy is performed, we're losing potential information of biological indicators of time of death. It's possible, right?
It's being slowed, yeah.
Okay, it's being slowed by the cooler, but now we have altered what's natural.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So all you could go with is the time that someone reported the time of death to you. Correct?
The time of death is the time of pronouncement, yes.
Okay. And so just to conclude this area of topic, you have pronouncement, but you can't tell me the approximate time of death of the deceased Gabriel in this case, right?
Not exactly, no.
Okay. Would you concur that the time of death could have been 6-something? 6:24?
That's the time of death, yes.
So, but medically, through your assessment, are you comfortable with that time?
That's the time that he was pronounced dead, so yes.
I'm asking medical inquiry to the time of death through your evaluation. Does it seem, you said that you go through this process of evaluating what you learn and what you observe. I'm asking, what did you observe? Does that seem reasonable?
Yes. It doesn't seem like he was been dead for 4 days.
Okay, but 6:24 is a reasonable time, that's all I'm asking.
Yes.
Thank you.
Daggers. Wow. We have a combination of dumb questions
so in Pima County,
and belligerent
just in case,
answers.
I'm sure everyone here has lived here forever, but what city is Pima County in?
Tucson is in Pima County.
Okay. And is that where the office is located?
Pima County Medical Examiner's office is in Tucson.
Thank you very much. Now, you said you had numerous people there watching the autopsy, correct?
Correct.
Detectives, the prosecutor. Do you have help with staff while you're conducting it?
Yes.
How many people do you normally have help you?
Typically 1 or 2.
Okay. And just basically, what's their role?
Doing the paperwork, printing off labels, putting labels on body fluids that I collect, helping with collection of evidence, doing the evidentiary form, releasing the evidence to the investigating agency, maybe helping with photographs if their gloves are clean and mine are dirty, and helping with the evisceration process and the returning of the organs to the body and sewing the body up, transporting the body to and from the cooler, and helping with anything else that I might need along the way.
Okay. So it's sort of like if you were a surgeon and you would have physician assistants or nursing that would be assisting in you overseeing and doing your medical procedures, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, on your findings, you list 2 points. Can you revisit those 2? What are they?
Perforating gunshot wound of trunk with skeletal, soft tissue, vascular, and visceral injuries. And Roman numeral 2 is cutaneous abrasions and contusions.
Okay, I think we talked a little bit about the first finding. What is the second finding about?
There were other injuries that I noted and documented on the skin.
And you explained in the process that you go through an autopsy that the first thing you do is like an assessment of the outer parts of the body, correct?
Correct.
And I would assume that's when you noted some abrasions.
Correct.
And in layman's terms, is an abrasion like a scraping of the skin?
Yes.
Okay. Just like a skin knee would be an abrasion?
Correct.
Okay, so something that scrapes against it caused some kind of markings, correct?
Or it scrapes against something.
Yes. One or the other contacts each other, but it causes the scraping.
Correct.
Right? And so, let's see here. Where in your report do you have noted some abrasions?
Under evidence of injury section,
Okay,
on page 4.
On page 4, can you please tell us out loud what are those locations?
The bridge of the nose, on the right forearm, the left knee, and the front of the left leg.
Sounds like you fell face forward.
Now, when you say the front, I imagine there's the part above the knee and the part below. Did you note it in any particular location? Upper leg or lower leg?
It's the thigh and the leg. The thigh is above the knee, the leg is below the knee.
Thank you. I can't remember my science that well. Thank you.
Shin bones connected to the... Yeah.
I'd like to approach this witness, Your Honor, with defense PP, Paul.
We have a skeleton in the courtroom. Did you see that? What's the autopsy picture? We're going to look away briefly. PP is not
Okay.
pew-pew.
Can you please look at these photos yourself? There's a few of them in there. Turn the pages, look at them, and see if you can identify these photos. Okay, and what are they? What do they depict?
Pictures from the autopsy.
From the what, ma'am?
The autopsy.
Okay. And does it
He yells
reflect
into the mic.
the locations of these abrasions that you were noting?
The first picture corresponds to the second injury on the right forearm. The second picture corresponds to the fourth and fifth injuries on the left knee and leg. The third picture corresponds to the first injury on the nasal bridge, as does the fourth picture.
Okay. So these photos accurately depict the photos that you or someone in your team took of these abrasions, correct?
And contusion.
And contusion. Okay. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence PP, defense PP.
No objection. PP is admitted.
Permission to publish.
Yeah, these are autopsy pictures. Content warning, we may accidentally see these. Cameron will try to blur or cut away if he notices what they are, but there we go. Yeah, he's going to be a little cautious. Yeah, I don't know what they had for lunch, but whatever it was spicy down there in Arizona. Oh, now we're practicing our blur. There we go. No, that's not your eyes, people. That's the cameraman protecting our sensitive minds and stomachs from what we're about to see.
First photo in my stapled group here. What are we looking at on this one?
In the middle of the screen is the abrasion on the right forearm. The hand is going to be on the right side of the screen as you're looking at it. And the shoulder, elbow region would be towards the left side of the screen.
All right, and let the record reflect that I pointed towards the hand, which is looking at the screen to the right, and to the left would be the rest of the arm, correct? So this is just above the wrist?
Correct.
Okay, kind of, would the hand be kind of flat if you were taking the picture?
It looks like the palm is facing down and the back of the hand is facing towards the top of the screen.
So this appears to be the side arm above the wrist?
The forearm.
The forearm, thank you. Side of the arm above the wrist, the forearm.
Side of the forearm.
Thank you.
They cannot agree. This is so funny. I'm sorry.
Let me show you the next photo.
This little battle they have is it's a brutal little battle. And the blur again in 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Okay. What are we looking at here? We'll call this B.
On the left side of the screen is the thighs with the knees, and then the anterior surface of the legs and the feet. The left leg is towards the top of the screen, the right leg is towards the bottom of the screen, and you can see an area of red, purple discoloration. That is the injury right on the left knee, as well as an additional area on the anterior surface of the left leg.
Would that be it here?
Correct.
Okay. So I pointed to the left knee, and below that, another injury, and nothing on the right side?
That's correct.
Now, we've seen this with the state's exhibit, but since it's in my packet, I'm going to show it again, and we'll move to C. What are we looking at here that you've seen before?
This is a front picture of the decedent's face, and you can see the area of injury on the bridge of the nose.
All right, blew up the picture, or zoomed it in. And am I pointing in the right direction on the bridge of the nose?
Yes.
Thank you.
Focus.
Apologize, I have to show the jurors all this, but I'm going to give the last one in this group, D. What are we looking at here?
This is a right lateral picture of the face.
Okay. And does it also show and reflect the nose?
Yes.
And the injuries being up in this area right here where I'm pointing?
Correct.
And these are abrasions?
That's an abrasion, yes.
A bruise is usually from impact, right? And it causes some form of bleeding.
Okay, focus back. You can look at the screen again.
Under the skin?
A bruise is a contusion, which is also a type of blunt force injury.
So a contusion is bleeding underneath the skin that rises and allows us to see off-colored?
A contusion is bleeding underneath intact skin.
Okay, so there's no open wound usually with a contusion?
Not with a straightforward contusion, no.
Okay. But an abrasion is more not of a direct impact, but more of a scraping of, correct?
It's blunt force injury, so it just has a different appearance. It's the loss of the superficial layer of skin.
Okay.
That's an abrasion or a scrape.
And something causes that resistance to cause it to have that appearance versus just a bruise, correct?
They're both a result of blunt force injury, blunt trauma. It's
Right.
something impacting the body or the body impacting something blunt.
But if I fall and skin my knees, it's because it scraped along the pavement or whatever versus just fell direct down, which might just cause bruising, correct?
There's different variables that play a role in it. If it's against a rough surface and it just fell down, you still may have an abrasion from it.
Can a dragging cause an abrasion?
Yes.
When the body comes in, is the body naked or do you have clothing on it as it was, when it arrives?
It depends on where the body comes from.
So in this case, do you know if the body was clothed before you did your job?
Yes, the body was received clothed.
So if there was a photo that showed tears in the clothing and underneath it an abrasion, does that support the fact that there could have been like skinning the knee, that type of injury?
Yes.
In other words, if there's a tear above the abrasion, then it supports that something came in contact with resistance to that area, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you note any of that in your observations, or was that not your job to do that?
I don't look at clothing.
Okay.
I don't see clothing.
So
I
you
also
have
don't look
no
at
idea
defense
this
counsel.
body has been dragged. You can't say one way or the other, correct?
Correct.
But it's possible?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
This is cross-examination of the medical
Did you testify
examiner.
about the clothing and the bullet defect and the regular defect? Did you have some testimony about that?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
How much detail would you like me to go into?
Let's talk about directionality of these bullet holes that you've observed. You don't know which way the subject would have been standing or sitting or doing whatever. You're not here to testify you have any knowledge of that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What about the angle of this wound? Are you here? You do know there was an angle from the entrance to the exit, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Your Honor, may I do a demonstrative thing with the court? With what? My new friend.
Bring out bones. Bring out
We're gonna
bones.
bring out.
Any objection from the student?
No, you're right.
May I approach the witness?
Let's put this stuff.
Yes.
Center of the room.
Here comes our skeleton friend.
Okay.
Sure, don't grab him right there. That's rude. Okay, all right.
Now,
The
this
judge
is
is
not
like,
a real human being, right?
we hope not.
You don't know.
I doubt it. I'm not sure though.
But it is anatomically correct from what you can see, correct?
The skeletal system, yes.
So I'm a
be a
visual
real
person.
human.
I know jurors can be too. So what I'd like to ask if you would step down from your seat and help demonstrate this, okay?
Sure.
Why not?
The defense attorney. So this isn't a real human, right? Silence from the Emmy. I doubt it. It could be. Could be somebody who donated their body to science and now to court.
Well, we're going to use this rod, and I want you to point out, let you hold it while you start your talking. You talked about some damages or beveling of the ribs. Let's back up a little bit. Explain beveling one more time.
The beveling is a fracture pattern seen on flat bones.
And what does that mean? Why does it do that? Why do you have that pattern?
It's the way the bullet passes through the flat bones and pushes the surface of the bone with it.
Okay, sometimes beveling is almost like a polishing type thing that it does to it. Is that similar or something different?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. Is it a direct impact or a skimming of that location to cause beveling?
It can be both.
Okay. Now, when you talk about rib numbers, how do you count ribs to know which rib we're talking about?
From the top down.
Okay. And you said there was an entrance wound. Where? Rib number. If you need to look at your report, we can get that for you.
Yeah, I don't have it memorized. Posterolateral right.
Demi's like, wow, it's weird to see a body with no skin. She's holding the karaoke mic next to a skeleton. You expect some weird song to be sung.
6 through 8 ribs.
Okay. Point right now where that would be.
These 3 ribs here, 6, 7, and 8. This is kind of the posterolateral region. These ribs.
Right under the arm.
Okay. Still kind of high up, depending on the size of the person, right?
I don't have an opinion to that.
Okay. Now, where is the exit wound?
Anterior left, second, right next to the sternum. It fractured the sternum and this area of the second rib.
Can you
Cameraman,
put this
zoom.
rod through the location of the entrance as close as you can and show where it would look like where the bullet exited, please?
Oh, Mr. Bones, I'm sorry. This is highly invasive, but we're going to do this for science. Oh, here goes the stab. Right through. That's brutal. Yeah, that's going to be fatal.
Roughly in that area.
Now, you named 3 ribs where it entered in. Where did you place it between those 3?
Below the 7th.
Okay. Now, so you said 6 through 8, right?
Correct.
So you just took the middle road for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why would a bullet hit 3 ribs?
Because of the velocity associated with it.
What about the angle?
Twist the knife.
Turn them a little bit just so jurors can see different perspective.
You're going to have nightmares tonight.
If something was lower and went into an upward movement, is it possible that the angle caused the impact damage to more than one rib?
I'm not sure what that question is asking.
If I was down low, shooting upward, is it possible the projectile hit more than one rib, causing the fracture or the break?
You would expect a more direct or upward trajectory for that to happen. It would have come this way, not crossed the midline.
Do the ribs and all the bones affect the possibility of a change in the direction? Is that possible?
fractures and going through bone are going to change the projectile.
Will?
Yes.
Okay. So once the bullet comes through and hits the body, going past the skin and hitting, say, a rib or a bone, could that alter the change to some degree? Is that what you're saying yes to?
Well, it altered the trajectory from when it was outside the body to when it was inside the body. It now has its own trajectory because of what it's impacted.
Right. And so not only did it hit these three ribs by the sign of the injury, right? It went through soft tissue after, correct?
Before.
After it hit it went through soft tissue, then hit the ribs.
Correct.
Okay, then it went through some more soft tissue or organs.
Pelvis.
Like the heart.
Lung.
First. Okay, and that's a soft tissue, correct? But ultimately passing through, it hit another set of ribs before it exited, correct?
It hit the sternum and then the second rib.
Okay, tell us what a sternum is.
It's a flat bone, like a breastbone. It's the sternum.
Okay, so let me look and see what you're pointing at. So it's the center bone that kind of connects the ribs and joins them together?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I point to my front right here, what am I likely to be near my sternum?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm illustrating center mass of my chest. Okay, and so it hits that bone, and then where on this was there another possible fracture or broken bone?
The second rib is broke, so it comes through here.
And what part of the bone
I'm already looking on
did you
Amazon.
notice that injury to?
The anterior, right, peristernal.
Close to the sternum.
Yes.
Versus where on the back, let me flip our guy around. Comes easy. Where on this ribs did you notice the injury? Like inner, closer to the spine, outer? Give me an idea there.
Right where I have it, posterolateral.
Okay, that was an easy one for you to put through. Because that's where you saw it, right? Correct? Okay.
Wow.
We got a question answer.
It's a good thing there's a skeleton between the two because they are like, wow. Oh, we're going to leave Mr. Bones up there just to die. You know he's a guy.
Now, I know you're not here to explain or give explanations, but would it be unreasonable to think that the directionality of this bullet could have been at a lower elevation? Is that possible?
I'm not familiar with bullets and elevation.
But it starts lower, correct? The entrance, and proceeds upward, correct?
That's the trajectory through the body.
Right. So if I was sitting right here on the floor and very low, it's possible that it would, just common sense, that it would follow this pattern of entrance and exit, correct?
That's a possibility.
So if someone is at a lower elevation, is it possible? I'm not making you the expert, I'm just speaking with your knowledge and common sense that this could have been a lower elevation shot that caused it to go from down to upward, correct?
If the body was in an upright position, yes.
Okay. And there's other explanations, right?
Innumerable.
Right. And the problem is, you don't know, correct?
I don't know I know the trajectory of the bullet through the body.
Right. And we can see it now with this rod in there, that it starts low and goes high. That we do know, correct?
Yes.
And so all the possibilities that could be out there, we just don't know how this happened, right?
I do not.
Right.
We're just going to leave Mr. Bones up there.
Now,
And the jury's going to be trying to figure out how the
you
bullet
told us and
traveled that path.
testified about the amount of blood that was retained in this body upon your autopsy, correct?
Correct.
You also talked about a couple of different ways that one might pass. One, you mentioned, like say they're shot in their head. What does that do as far as longevity of that person?
It's highly variable. People can survive gunshot wounds to the head.
Depends where it is.
Yes.
If a bullet affects the central nervous system, would they be able to abstain for any length of time?
Yes.
How long?
Well, they can live. They can survive gunshot wounds to the brain.
Is it possible that that body would drop immediately?
That's possible, yes.
Okay. And what about if someone is just kind of bleeding out, just got internal organs, soft tissue organs, and causes a bleeding out? Could that be a more of a longevity as far as how long someone can function?
What you're describing is like a hemorrhage?
Yes, internal bleeding, hemorrhage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people can die pretty rapidly from that. It all just depends on whether aid is rendered and the underlying health conditions that the person has. And there's many variables that affect. One person might die from hemorrhage pretty quickly, and another person might live long enough to have aid rendered and survive it.
Well, I'm not talking about death as much as functioning upon receiving the injury. Okay, with internal bleeding, isn't it possible that a person can continue to walk for some time?
Some people, yes.
Okay. And if a person, it depends on how much they're bleeding, and you testified a little earlier about that. What did you testify about? You talked about it earlier.
About what?
About when someone is bleeding and how long they can last.
It depends on the person and what they're bleeding from.
So if a person can walk 1 mile per hour, for example, all right, something very slow, and then they are bleeding out at whatever rate, is it possible that they can go yards before they fall?
Yes.
Okay. And so
If a train
this
leaves the
type of
station
injury
at
is
60 miles an
different
hour.
than a spinal column injury or something that might take the person into a position of lights out. You know what I mean? In other words, they have a chance that they may still survive for some X period of time, depending, correct?
They could still have movement, versus if there was a spinal cord injury, they would be incapacitated pretty rapidly. This is an aorta injury, which could be a rapid incapacitation, but there's a potential that there may have been movement after as well.
Okay. And that movement could have been feet, maybe even yards, possibility, right?
Yes.
Okay. So just because this person falls down right there doesn't mean that's where they were shot with this type of injury, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
You
And
could
said
polish a
that-
turd too. I'm just
that
saying.
You lost, or you collected 50 milligrams of around the heart, correct? Of blood. Milliliters, I'm sorry. Thank you. And about how much is that in a cup or some other measurement that we can relate to it?
Probably a couple of these.
Okay, can you hold that up for everyone to see? And have raised from your table
Raise the
little,
glass.
like Dixie cup type things that are there for you to have water, right? So you're saying about 2 of those.
Yeah, approximately. I don't know how many ounces these are, but.
Okay, and this is around the heart, and then you also testified that in the chest cavity, you also were able to collect 340 milliliters, correct?
Correct.
And give me how many cups of those would that be?
Well, 6 times, 7 times.
Okay. Now, the clothing can act like a sponge that's around it, absorbing the blood from the location of a bullet hole, right?
Yes.
And the clothing in this case had some blood on it, right?
I don't recall.
Okay. And have you seen any photos of blood on the ground?
I have not, no.
Would it be surprising to you, based on knowing how this bleeding out is taking place, that there was very little blood on the ground?
I mean, there could be blood on the ground. There could be a small amount, a large amount. I don't know.
And is it possible that the bleeding that you would think you would see could have been all maintained internally in this body?
Yes.
Okay. And that accounts for the large amount of blood that you're seeing in areas that are normally not with that type of amount of blood, right?
Correct.
Okay, well, oh, now she's drinking the blood.
Appreciate that.
Can't talk about blood being the glasses and then drink from it. But with this evidence, especially with the skeleton demonstrative aid,
Now,
I've got an idea of how I think he got shot.
do you remember, well, when you analyze the outer parts of the body upon the start of your examination, do you look for things and objects that normally would not be normally found there?
Yes.
And did you notice in this case there was lots of debris on or around the body?
Yes.
There's a reason why the stock chose to work with dead people. And she's just reviewing those reasons right now in her head.
Okay. Cross the witness. Let me show you.
What do you think? Do you think the state's going to get up there and use the demonstrative? Like reposition the skeleton and like, could it happen like this? Do you think they're just going to get that out of
Let me show you
here?
what's been marked as, I think it's an 00, defense 00. Does this photo that I'm showing you on top, we'll call it A, reflect the type of debris you found?
I describe it as particulate debris. So I see some particulate debris in the photo, yes.
Okay. And let's skip one more. And does this photo reflect the amount of blood on the clothing that was found and observed by you?
I don't know.
Okay, skip B. Let's go to C. Let's go to D. Again, at the medical examiner's office, is this photo taken? Does it appear to be?
It appears to have a body bag in the background, so yes.
Okay. And does that reflect, again, the particles that was observed with the body upon your examination?
Yes.
Okay, is there more photos in there? And then the next one, same thing, just different view?
Yes.
And that one.
Yes.
I need to talk to counsel for a second.
Uh-oh. Here goes the water fountain. Okay, so as we watch Mr. Bones here, that shot, it would be impossible if what Mr. Kelly has said, that's all we get. If the shooting happened the way Mr. Kelly said, it's impossible for him to sustain that shot. It's impossible for him to have hit and been injured like that. based on where the body was found, based on where the bullet casings were found. It doesn't add up. It cannot add up. So something has to be wrong. It's possible that Mr. Kelly's story is not actually true. It's possible that he didn't fire up in the air and instead he fired directly at them. If he fired directly at them, we still have a problem. Because if Gabriel was walking along upright and getting shot at, that bullet, it wouldn't happen like that. Especially, it wouldn't go up through 3 bones and ricochet up. It doesn't. Bullets ricochet into areas where there's less resistance, not where there's more. Does that make sense? Like if you hit a rock, it bounces off the rock. It doesn't turn into the rock. So it doesn't work that way. But if Gabriel, when the 9 shots started ringing out, if he did instinctively what I've done when I've been shot at and ducked down so I'm almost horizontal and crouched in a run, that is very possible. Very possible.
To see what I've taken out.
I'm just trying to see if Kelly shot him. So this is how that could happen if Mr. Kelly shot him.
Thank you, Judge May. Publish? Yes. Thank you. Okay, I'm showing you, I'll call it OOA, for a picture of the right hand. Were you aware that the right hand was under the body, because it was also probably still had, which, the stiffness of that body, right? Did you observe the body being bent, the arm being bent? No. So you had no knowledge that this right arm was under the body upon observation of it?
That's correct.
Okay. But I'm going to show you from a photo from your location where the right arm, would you agree it is the right arm, right hand?
This is a picture of the right hand, yes.
Okay. And the debris that the hand is holding, correct?
That's on the hand, yes.
Okay. Which appears to be some kind of straw-like, long, grass-like material, correct?
Some of it, yes.
What else is there?
More granular.
Still blurry screen.
Sand or dirt.
Okay. So let's point that out. So right on the top, right there?
All over.
All over. Could this, thank you for drawing. Okay. Are you familiar that the terrain was in an environment like that? Did you have any knowledge of that?
Yeah, I mean, most of our cases come from the desert.
Okay. So this reflects that type of environment, correct? Right. Now, there is all kinds of particles kind of stuck to this hand. And there are things in his hand. And that includes this straw-like grass material, correct?
Yes.
And the hand is somewhat closed or clenching in some form, right? That's how the photo was, right?
There's some flexion of the fingers in the picture, yes.
Okay. When a person dies, and as the body stiffens, does it stiffen in the position it was last in?
Typically, yes.
In other words, the hand doesn't move while you're dead, right?
Not unless someone moves it.
Okay. And so this could reflect someone, I don't know, being dragged or grabbing onto the environment, correct? Could be.
I don't know how the body had been manipulated after it was found. I mean, there's many variables that affect.
But in my hypothetical, it's reasonable, correct? It's possible.
If the body had laid there for enough time to pass so that rigor mortis had started, then yes.
Okay. But if someone's being dragged and grabs onto things and then passes, the results of it could still remain in the hand, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I understand, that's one hypothetical. Let me show you the next photo. So we'll call this B.
Still blurry, guys. Sorry. Wish they could
Again,
show us the
reflecting the
witness.
same thing, the same right hand, correct?
Yes.
and the environment kind of sticking to the paw or the top of the hand, correct?
Yes.
And a stick or something being clenched by the hand, correct?
Poking out of the interdigitary space, yes.
Thank you.
Interdigitary space between the fingers.
A little bit different angle, but same shot. My last one, we'll call it C. Any idea? Is this more clenched or just a different angle?
It's all the same. Okay, it's a little bit different.
You? Okay.
The cameraman is doing his best to comply with court rules as well as show people what's happening, and he's chosen, or they, he, she, have chosen to blur the image when there's autopsy photos.
That you get a...
Counsel, it sounds like you're moving into a new area. It's 2:45. This is a good time to take a break.
Okay, wonderful.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our mid-afternoon 30-minute break. We drive, get the car.
30-minute break, and the judge is first one out the door. He's like, I'm out of here. See ya. Okay, so skeleton left in the middle of the room. We have 30 minutes. Hey, Siri, set a timer for 30 minutes. What? Do you not obey me anymore? Hey, Siri, set a timer for 30 minutes.
Minutes counting down.
Minutes counting down. A 30-minute break is what we have. Skeleton does not get a break. He's going to hold that position the whole time. I think he'll still be up there when we come back. Mr. Bones is putting in the long hours. Let's see, Beautiful Waterfall has just sent you some local photos on the burner phone. When I say, I shared that, the idea of how if Mr. Kelly's story was not true about the angle and the direction he fired, how the injury could wind up from his gun. That does not mean that I think he's guilty. Okay. I'm waiting to hear all the evidence. I don't think the state's proven he's guilty yet. It's very possible to take almost any injury and any weapon, and as long as basically they line up and say this could be the scenario where this could have happened. But the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that's what did happen. So I'm still jury's out on this still, at least for me. All right, on the burner phone, where are we? Burner phone is slow. All right, here we go. Let's see. Little Red Schoolhouse. It's actually called Little Red Schoolhouse. That's the name of it. State testing taking place. So it's actually called Little Red Schoolhouse. Then you've got the gate to the Kelly's Ranch. It was fenced off pretty far back on the private road that leads to his homestead. Okay, so we've got some pictures. I'm not going to show them yet. They're not. We might bring them up at a later point, just not right now. Is there a fly on my screen? There's a spot on my screen where it went white, and I don't like it. Let's see. Weird. It's just on that one. Oh, it's this computer. That's why. Never mind. It's my mouse. Found it. Fixed it, guys. Never mind. All right. Might be fun adding Mr. Bones on our thumbnail, perhaps a black radio. I think Mr. Bones is going to end up on our thumbnail here eventually. Let me see if I can see where we're at. Oh, look at this. It's already happened. So we have Mr. Bones down there with a dancing with a stick. Down there on the bottom. That looks great. Looks fantastic. Let's see if we can zoom in just a little bit and see what he looks like. Can we make him... I'm just wondering. Let's see. Let's go up here. I'm just goofing off. You guys can fix this if I make a mess of it. But I'm not sure. Does that look worse or better? I'll just stop messing with it. Let's edit undo. Okay. Mr. Bones dancing between the cactuses. I see him on there. Looks good. The thumbnail's coming along quite nicely. We do have a radio. A little black radio has been added next to the fanny pack. It looks really good. Looks really good. You guys are doing a great job. All right, so let's see. Testing positions, check football field, check between cacti. There's more to look. Let's see. Check the football field. We've got a little one way back over here. Mr. Bones is playing a little bit of European football. And let's see, down between the cacti over here. Ooh, that one's a little bit of it's got like, this is like a Shakira type move going on between the cacti over by the flashlight. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we want it more realistic to the bone color that was shown in court. All right, I like them all. You're doing a great job. What about the daggers? No daggers yet that I saw. Let me look again. One more. I'm not seeing any daggers yet. Oh, what's this? What's this up in the hay? Well, that's a giraffe. It's a giraffe. I'll need an explanation on that one. Oh, because the lady's tall. Is that why the Emmy is tall? I'm not seeing any daggers. They might be there, and I'm just blind. But great work. Keep it up. G is for giraffe. That's right. What kind of weapon was he using? Donna, he had an AK-47 with him, and that's consistent with the type of injury. An AK-47 would be capable of making that type of injury. He also had a .40 caliber Glock, which was probably less likely to make that type of injury. You're working on a cat fight for the picture. This has been some spicy testimony. These two, somebody called it and said, there's no way there's no history between these two. There's got to be something. And I realized that during the direct testimony, defense did stand up and challenge one of her opinions and said, hey, she doesn't have any basis to make that suggestion. And they even went as far as to do a voir dire and get some questions out of her. And I think that really set her off. But I think there's got to be something else as well. Let's see. Thumbnail creators, you are doing fabulous. You are. Thumbnail is excellent. I love it. I cannot wait. It's going to be beautiful. All right. That said, what else do we need to go over? I can't get my head wrapped around what this medical examiner is doing and why. She's staring at the jury like they're the only people in the room and they're doing the most interesting thing she's ever seen. She's like fixated on the jury. And the questions are coming from almost 90 degrees to her right, okay? Because that's where defense is. And she's almost never breaking with the jury, and occasionally she'll stare and just do like this, what are you? Literally, what are you? Sort of look back over there, and then she goes right back to the jury and is fixated on them. So crazy. Confirmed tornado in Tennessee. I saw that Kentucky... Louisville is looking not good either. Got a lot of stuff going on. Please stay safe if you're out in that area. Check on people who who you know, make sure they're all right. Warn them that this is not something you want to joke around with. Whereabouts is Emily D. Baker in Tennessee? She's in Tennessee? How did I not know she was in Tennessee? She might have some social anxieties or something. I can be a bit awkward if people talk to me for a long time and I have to look at them. I think if that's so, that's why she chose a job where people are, most of her customers are dead. Iris asking a question about the Daybell case, saying the jury selection on Daybell's case is the first time I watch it. Is it usually shown? Just in such a high-profile case is interesting if it comes to problems about a juror. It normally isn't shown. Sometimes it's not even open to the public. Iris, it's more often open to the public than it is shown on TV. And this one, of course, we don't get to see the individual jurors. We can't hear their voices. We do get to hear their numbers and their personal stuff. Sometimes the information is so personal that it's possible that you can basically determine who it is based on their answers. Okay, like if they work at a certain thing or start giving some details that are fairly unique to them that other people might recognize. But EDB is in Nashville. All of her customers are dead. Yeah, but she does work for other people, right? They send her stuff. So I'm saying that she works for people and she works on people. All the people she works on are dead. Hope EDB and everybody else in Tennessee stay safe. And Kentucky and man, I was looking at the storm actually during the break, and it's not a pretty one. Are the prosecutors up to bat, or have they arrested yet? No, we're still on defense. Defense has sort of transitioned into a new area, and the judge detected the transition and said, now's a good time for a break. And so we're going to have a break, and they get to come back. We'll see if the skeleton is still up after the break or if they've gotten rid of it. Little something in mod chat. Let's take a little peek. Wow. Let's see. Severe weather outlook. Are you saying Thomas wants to connect? I'm not on StreamYard. It's the only problem. I'm looking at this image that Thomas sent me, and basically from Alabama up through Ohio, there's just, Montgomery, Franklin, Nashville, Louisville, Cincinnati, Columbus, that whole line is just red or orange and with bad weather all along. Fox has live coverage of the aftermath of the Tennessee tornado. Yeah. Karate Cat Mom, you missed probably some of the spiciest exchanges we've ever seen in this trial with the medical examiner, who apparently does not like the defense attorney. Even went so far as the defense attorney said, "There's no reason you don't like me, right?" or something. She's like, "You're not angry at me for some reason, are you?" It was spicy. They don't like each other. I guess they rub each other the wrong way. There's definitely abrasion there somewhere. Crystal says, "Columbus, great." Yeah, you guys, seriously, stay safe. I'd love that you're here, but your safety is number one. So please be alert and aware of what's going on in your area weather-wise. Be alert to what's happening, because I can't see it. I don't have the access to the same systems or emergency service systems that you do. So if you're watching and you're in an area that is predicted to have some sketchy weather, make sure you keep monitoring that throughout the day and make sure you stay safe first and foremost. Let's see, show the thumbnail again. It's right here. Let's see, I think the skeleton went with one leaning on a cactus. That's the newest one right over here. Not seeing. Do we have daggers on there yet? Because she gave. Let's see. I don't see daggers. VD. We've got VD in the water. Nice. Oh my goodness. Oh, there's the cat fight right down here. Cat fight. I see the cat fight under the ladder. Nice. Speaking of which, my cat got in a fight, and I'm hoping he's all right, but I think he lost with another cat, and he's been limping, but he doesn't want me to look at his leg. Anyway, I think we might have to take him to the vet if we can get him to cooperate with us. My cat is always fighting. He is, but yeah, he gets in trouble. Thumbnail is hilarious. It looks great. Keep up the good work. You guys are doing a great job. I actually have a friend that runs a veterinary clinic, so probably going to reach out to them here this afternoon. Tomcat, yeah, we've got a big bully cat that comes around and like eats our cat's food, like right in front of it. Doesn't care. So I think that's the one. Let's see. Had a Costco run, or we're on break. We're done for the day. We're on a break, Angela. We just get a half-hour break. Hey, Siri, show timer.
There's a timer with about 15 minutes left.
There you go. We've got about 15 minutes left before we come back from this break. Is your cat fixed? He was never broken. Bite me. Yes, I believe the other family that shares him with us took care of that, and that's why he's got his ear clipped. Broken Baker and just joined with the fellow bakers. Hello, Broken Baker. Welcome. Good to have you here. Great to have all you bakers coming in. We're on break right now from this trial, just for a moment. We've got about 15 minutes left. We're going to be jumping back into the Arizona trial. Hello, Broken Baker and crew. Welcome, welcome. Redford says, here's how you get the rest of us. Let's see. Do you know the other family? I know which direction they live. Let's see. Hey, I'll take care of the muffin tops. Thank you, Broken Baker. Good to have you here. Good to see you, my friend. I hope your stream went well today. What case are you covering, if I might ask? Send them half the vet bill. I was hoping I could get like the friends only discount when I call the vet and say, look, I need you to take a look at my cat's leg. I mean, it runs around just fine. It'll dig holes and paw and clot things, but then sometimes it will like just limp on the leg and then it will be fine again. So not sure. Oh, the Apple River Stabulator. It's a fun trial. Just crazy. A bunch of drunk kids on the river and a knife. I mean, it's just, yeah. Might take a look at that a little bit during our downtimes. I've been watching the Apple River case. Broken Baker is broken and needs sleep. This is him, yeah. Must have sleep. Untreated bites can kill a pet. This is what I want to make sure it's treated so it doesn't get infected. But Apple River Stabulator is not guilty. It's crazy trail and very sad. Were there deaths involved or just injuries? For some reason, I thought that was just injuries and no deaths. One death and 4 injuries. Whoa. Wow. The old man did the stabbing. A teenager. Oh, my goodness. Young boy died in the water. Only one was under 18. The rest were over at adults. Crazy case. Man, absolutely crazy. All right, we're going to be coming back to court here momentarily. So let me get this one on. There we go. Great success. Welcome. Thanks for clicking the subscribe button. We call that admitting to being an addict, a true crime addict. Once you join us, you can never leave. We are in a break right now in this Arizona trial with Mr. Kelly as the defendant. Mr. Kelly is charged in the death of Gabriel. Gabriel is one of two individuals that, possibly more, depending on whose story you believe, were on Mr. Kelly's land. Mr. Kelly owns land about 173 acres right down by the Mexico border in the very south side of Arizona. And he, according to his story, he says he was in the house with his wife. They heard gunshot or gunshots outside. He grabbed his AK-47, which he kept by the door, and popped out to see what was going on, because they saw people supposedly with firearms, with weapons, and with big packs, which Mr. Kelly believed was a drug mule or a group of drug mules crossing the border illegally with drugs. He says he fired 9 shots into the air to scare them off. And he called the Border Patrol. He calls police. Police come out and they search his property quickly. I mean, it was a quick search. They come out, they find Mr. Kelly out with his dogs walking around on his property. Don't find anything on the property and then leave. Mr. Kelly later that night goes out to move his horse from a farther pasture to a closer pasture for the night. And while he's out there, he and his dogs find a body. And the body has a single bullet wound, and the man's clearly dead. So they call the Border Patrol again, and police come out, and the sheriffs come out, and they look at this, and they put cuffs on Mr. Kelly and take him to the station to get a statement. And they believe that he was the one that shot him. And Mr. Kelly says, I couldn't have been, because I shot up in the air to scare him off. And I think what happened was that shot we heard earlier was someone shooting this guy. And then I came out and scared him off, and they ran. So we've got different opinions about what happened there. One of the problems about really solving this case and nailing it down as to what happened is because the victim, Gabriel, was shot clean through, and there's not even any residue of a bullet inside. There's no lead samples or bits of bullet fragmentation. There's nothing. It's just a clean through shot, and they were never able to find the bullet. They also were never able to find any of the other 9 bullets or 8 bullets that Mr. Kelly says he fired in that day. They did find the casings. They found the casings in his back patio where he says he shot from, but that was it. So they didn't search. They glanced. It was a cursory glance, I think it was. But so this is it's been interesting. We've got a lot of witnesses, a lot of what I would say would be inexperienced law enforcement officers, as well as a few experienced ones that have testified. And the problem is a lot of the stories don't match up. And great success. I'm sorry you had to wait that long. We ask you don't use all caps though. We found that that's the best way to keep trolls out. Let's see, we've got a call. Who is this? Hello? Hello? Oh, I thought it was man, I hope they call back. I'm sorry about the 5-minute delay. What that does is it makes it so that when we have trolls come in, because we have trolls come in that like to spam chat with just crude, crass, and rude things, and if we put a 5-minute delay on that, it makes them they don't have patience for it. They go look somewhere else, and it just takes them more time to get in. You're in now. Unfortunately, I think we're on slow mode. I don't know what the slow mode's set to, so maybe once a minute. Hopefully that's not too bad. We might turn it down if it's all right with the mods, but I think there's room right now for reasonable doubt. If the state were to rest, I definitely think that they've not proven their case. They've definitely got a possibility that something happened, but I don't think they've proven it. We do have one witness. I think the first witness that we listened to in this case says that he was with Gabriel when it happened, and he saw the whole thing go down. The problem is he puts the location as different from where Mr. Gabriel was found. It says it was like within about 200 yards of the border wall, when he was actually about 1.33 miles away from it. He says he was on the wrong side of town, of where the town was. So he's like completely got the directions and the location wrong. In addition, he also says that when Gabriel was shot, he says, "I've been shot," and he fell over backwards, his eyes rolled up in his head, and he was gone. And he jumped over the body and ran. Evidence shows that he most likely fell forward. That's what we heard from the ME, that he fell forward and landed on his face. And so this witness, who the sheriff was able to drum up in Mexico, and they brought him over across the border just to testify, it has some credibility issues. And we're not sure if he's exactly telling the truth, or if he's relaying what was told to him by somebody else. Honestly, I would have a hard time as a juror believing everything he told me. So one of the things he says is, as soon as he ran, first of all, this happened 10 yards from the house, right? Was it 10 yards from the house? But then he ran 15 minutes and looked back, or 15, what was it? He ran for 15 minutes, looked back, and saw Mr. Kelly standing over the body. The measurements were all off. They were all off. Mr. Bones is more credible. Where's your metal detector? I've got, if they let me, I don't think Mr. Kelly would want me on his property metal detecting, honestly. I don't think that would be any benefit to him to have somebody on there metal detecting. But if the opportunity was there, I'd love to do it. The problem is I'm not a forensic metal detectorist, meaning I don't document everything and film everything and measure. I found this piece. I've got a signal that's this many inches deep. Here's the location. Here's the GPS coordinates. This is the lay of the land before I dug it. Now we're carefully removing each layer down to the metal. No, I just dig the thing up. It's like, hey, look what I found. And evidence is less useful after that. We are on a break for just a couple more minutes. Hey, Siri, show timer.
There's a timer with 4 minutes and 18 seconds left.
Let's see. Surprise, surprise. The judge denied the motion to dismiss the case for Richard Allen. Yes, he's going to go to trial. No news in that one, though. No media. They were the only people who spoke to him. There were no translators there who put what he changed into English. His testimony taken afterwards was changed after the interview. Lots of problems with that testimony. Let's see. I used all caps this morning because I forgot my caps were on, and no way I was retyping the message, but I did apologize afterwards. I saw that. Samantha says, feel free to remove slow mode. I will do that. I'm going to go ahead and just throw it in the reckless abandon mode. What is that called? Where's slow mode? Is it in customization? There it is. Okay. Boom. Slow mode's off. Freedom! Don't abuse it. Don't abuse it. But be nice to the mods. So. Wendy, no. Richard Allen had filed to have the case dismissed. The judge said no. The judge said no. It's not going to be dismissed. Motion was denied. I love this. TYO Toys did, Mr. Phil Foss did a fantastic montage of me getting a phone call, unable to book a trip to CrimeCon with my unused travel credits. It's probably one of my favorite ones he did. Let's see. Unrelated question. Why do people Google dumb stuff that can later be used against them? Angela, how long to die in the cold? How does the FBI find people? It's I don't know. It's dumb criminals. They think that they can ask Google a question and that there will be no. Everything I've said to Siri, it's somewhere on a log. They could go back and see what time did he start the timer? What time did the timer end? It's all out there. You can get it all back. Nothing's ever really gone. Judge said 0 media on that one. Slow mode is off. Great success. Freedom. Welcome. First day freedom. This is rare. Great success. This is rare. I hope you enjoy it. Let's see. The judge has to be taken off that case. Any verdict with her as the judge isn't going to stand up. But I was in incognito mode. Okay, let's see. How long for the FBI to find Poople? Yes. That was from Letitia Stauck, that trial. All right, any moment now we're going to be back in court, so we have audio going. We'll jump back to it as soon as they give us the feed. Let's see, not that one. There we go. Jamie C., member for 11 months. It doesn't even feel like 11 months. This was easy. Give me another 11. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jamie. Appreciate your support. 11 months is awesome. Did she find out? Yeah, she found out.
Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Oh, she found out.
Yeah, love that. Love that soundbite. Which one was Richard Allen? Delphi. The Delphi case. Let's see. In this particular case, great success. There's only one fatality, one individual, and the defendant says it wasn't him. And if it was him, it was self-defense. So we sort of got like a dual defense going. There's the quack. So court should be back now. Beep, beep. You can hear that beep. It's really quiet. I've taped over the speakers so you can't hear them as loudly. My timer ends with a quack, red pen. I don't know why. So I think one of my kids said it as a joke, and I just haven't bothered to change it back. What did Richard Allen do? It's believed he was involved with the killing of 2 young girls, sort of the kidnapping and killing of 2 young girls. And there's some crazy allegations in there. That whole trial, that is just nuts. What the judge is doing, what the attorneys are doing back and forth, all the motions, that on its own, without the murder part involved, is crazy. We have the same security system because every time your door beeps, I check mine. Is the treehouse going to represent himself? I think he will, Robin. I have not heard. If anyone has heard what the update is on the treehouse trial, let me know. We'd like to see that when that goes down. The more shady stuff gets in Delphi, the more people are going to be rooting for Richard Allen, which is wrong for the girls if he is guilty, but wrong that he has been treated this way. Sounds like the crazy Sarah Boone case. That's coming up soon. We're probably a little over a month away from Sarah Boone as well. The bridge one, yes, it is. The girls on the bridge, the recording. $65 and sunny. Okay, we're coming back to court here in just a moment. I've been given my my notice that we're coming back, so hold tight. You've learned the whole intro. It's time for me to change the intro then. Is that what you're saying? Need to update a little bit. It's been a while. I do think Sarah Boone is going to trial. Yes. Let's see. Mr. Bones is still there.
Good?
Yes.
All right. And you can continue with your cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you remember we talked about something called stippling?
Yes.
Okay. Let's slow that down a little bit and go back over that. What is it?
Stippling is a pattern of injury seen on the skin that's caused by unburnt gunpowder impacting the skin and leaving small punctate red-purple abrasions.
So if I was suicidal and if you look my way for 1 second and put a gun to my head, you would suspect in that scenario that you would see stippling on my scalp somewhere here, right?
What?
No.
No?
I would be concerned if I saw stippling.
Okay, tell me what.
Stippling is seen in intermediate range gunshot wounds, not contact gunshot wounds.
Okay, would anything else be left there if it was contact, like I illustrated?
Typically, we would expect to see a muzzle stamp or a muzzle imprint.
Okay, so you kept using the word intermediate range. Could you define that range again, please?
It's highly variable depending on the ammunition and the weapon. And the only way to know exactly distance from muzzle to target is to have the same ammunition and the same weapon and do repeated test firings.
Okay.
So when I'm giving numbers, it's general speaking, a couple of inches to typically 1.5 feet. Sometimes you'll see a little bit further.
Gabriel, you're behind.
So if I have a gun in my hand, which I'm using a pen, and I am standing back 3 feet and point a gun at this person, is it possible that you might not see this evidence of stippling? I thought I could speak louder.
Typically, you would not expect to see stippling at that range of muzzle to body.
Because why?
Because gravity would pull the burnt and unburnt gunpowder off prior to it impacting the body.
Okay. So you can't testify that someone wasn't standing in my proximity to the subject. This is the deceased here. You can't testify if me having a very high caliber, let's say some sort of big handgun, pointed at the person like I'm robbing them, okay? It's possible that could have happened too, correct?
Can you repeat or rephrase the question?
Is there any evidence that would dispute that I'm standing here a few feet back from the subject, the deceased, having a handgun, pointing it at him, like as if I was robbing him? Is there anything that would dispute that happening based on your autopsy?
He was clothed.
Pardon?
He was clothed, so I wouldn't expect to see stippling on a clothed body anyhow, because the clothing is going to absorb the burnt and unburned gunpowder.
Okay, that was actually my next question. Thank you. Now let's go back to my question, but that was on my list. I'm going to creep up another small amount of space, okay? I'm holding a pen like it's a gun. I'm saying this for the court reporter. I know you can see what I'm doing. Or can. Is that better?
She's robbing Mr. Bones.
And is there anything about your medical examiner report that would dispute the fact that I had a gun? As if I'm using maybe I'm robbing the guy or whatever. That would contradict it. Assuming this is a pretty powerful handgun, is there anything that would dispute it that you see in your report?
That the distance of the gun from the body is within where you had it.
Yes.
Was that the question? Yes. No, that's possible.
Okay.
That was a win for the defense. Getting the expert to acknowledge that a different theory other than the state's theory could be a possibility.
So, hey, you moved on to my next question, and I'm going to make sure I understand you. Having clothing on
we think your microphone's on.
I'm sorry. Having clothing on you can obstruct any of the stippling from showing up on the body.
Yes, it would show up on the clothing, not the body.
Okay. And that's not something you would do, correct?
That's correct.
But you only deal with the actual body itself.
Yes.
All right, now I'm going to go go back to, well, actually, let me do this. Your Honor, at this time, I would like to enter into evidence defense AAA, who has already been identified and shown to this witness, which is the full report of the medical examiner's report. I would like to note that it is a medical report. It does identify itself through a affidavit that has been put on there long time ago. And the date of that report actually is, the affidavit is July 19th, 23. And she went through all the pages already to look at it. I killed off a photo of the subject that I don't think is really part of the report that somehow got attached, so I took that off in all fairness.
Your Honor, I have no objection if the entire report, including the photo that she just took off.
Do you want that on?
It's part of the whole photo. Yes, I want
Okay,
that.
I have no problem.
No objection, Your Honor.
Without objection, defense exhibit AAA.
Thank you, Judge. Permission to publish small portion of it.
Right.
Investigator narrative. You did talk about earlier about getting information from law enforcement so that you could look at that information and then correlate with what you see in your examination, correct?
Yes.
And you said you did do it in this case, correct?
Yes, probably.
Okay, and that has come in this report under the form of investigator narrative, because you didn't author that, right?
Correct.
That's what you relied on to get you started, correct?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it says. Some of it could be prior to examination. Sometimes information comes in after.
Okay, so you could fall back on it if you need to based on your evaluation, or you could use it to get started.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to read it. It's very fine print. Put my flashlight on. This is January 30th, 23. An unidentified male was reportedly with a group of foreign nationals that were observed by a homeowner on his property. Yes, it's 2 of 5, about 17 down.
She has a flashlight on her phone turned on.
The homeowner indicated that the group was running parallel to the property and had long rifles on their possession. So pausing there for a second, hence your reason to believe that this could have been a rifle, could have came from the investigator, correct?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. Because you would have read this in the beginning at least once, right?
Prior to signing my report, if it was authored on the 30th, yes.
Thank you. He then allegedly pursued the group and engaged them, firing one shot from his AK-47 rifle. Now you've been identified a type of rifle, right?
Yes.
But only one shot is noted. And you have one shot, right?
Correct.
But you didn't hear about the 8-9 other shots in this case, did you?
I don't know the details.
Okay, let's keep going.
Zoom out here, zoom out.
911 was contacted at 17:56 hours, and the decedent was located by deputies with Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office at 1823. He was pronounced at 1824 hours by Deputy Lopez. The decedent was, and that's where you get your time, right?
Correct.
The decedent was noted to have a defect to his right small print, aspect of the torso, as well as the defect to approximately the center upper anterior torso. No other defects were observed by the time the cause was reported, or the case was reported. Excuse me. 2 PCOME. However, the decedent had not been manipulated much. Didn't say not at all, it says much, right? Do you hear what I said? Yes. Okay. And in true best scenario, you wouldn't want the body to be manipulated in any way, correct? Correct. In order to preserve the potential evidence, the location of the decedent was in a flat area of the property and was approximately 100 yards from the physical residence. A Mexican voter identification card was located on the decedent with the name Gabriel Cuen Buitimea and date of birth of 9/26/74. Information was obtained via telephonic interview with Deputy Barba from the Sheriff's Office. Additional information was obtained via, a PCOME, preliminary death form completed by Deputy Barba. So you got all that information from Deputy Barba. Would that be fair to say it came through some sort of communication, teletype internet, some sort of form of technology?
If that's what's documented, yes.
Okay, and that's what I read, correct?
Yes.
And then you just add that to the report, this whole report, that information got added, right?
It's part of the case file.
Okay. And it said that the subject shot one time at this deceased. And so you rely on that as being possibility of what's happened, correct?
Yes.
Chance to look at my notes for a second.
She still has redirect. And she looks thirsty. Ooh, yeah. There it is.
What was the lab results?
Which lab?
Blood work, drugs,
toxicology?
Toxicology.
I don't have that part of the report. It was part of your document, though.
Why are we reading the lawyer's notes? We're gonna get kicked out of court, guys. This is great video for a B-roll news story. If it weren't in court. Okay, I don't even know. This is bad. Look away, everyone. Nobody look. Nobody look.
The toxicology screening positive findings included delta-9 THC at the level of 2.0 nanograms per milliliter from the femoral blood sample that was submitted to NMS labs.
What does that mean in English for someone that doesn't know lab work?
Marijuana.
It's a metabolite of marijuana.
What does that mean, metabolite?
A breakdown product.
Okay, so there are signs of use of marijuana in his system?
Correct.
Okay. And is that a large amount, small amount, or does it matter?
Well, the reporting limit is 1.0. It's double that. As far as amounts, I don't have an opinion as to numbers. It's not something I typically.
Here's another page. Is that there's nothing else further? Is that all that was found?
That's the only positive finding, correct?
I would hire this cameraman for a wedding
Second
in
to
a
review my
heartbeat.
notes, Judge.
Let's zoom in and see if we can see their iPad password, Mr. Cameraman. You want to help us with that? I'm being facetious, obviously. You guys, why? This is great B-roll. These are like still shots. Like, this would be good on a thumbnail or on a news story or something. But I just don't get. You're not documenting the story. This isn't a drama from the courtroom. This is factual. This is just clean. It's straight evidence. It's testimony. That's all. Pass the witness. We're back on redirect. Let's see if they get rid of Mr. Bones. They're going to leave him up there. Just chilling.
Dr. Tim, are you familiar with marijuana and the breakdown, the tablet?
Careful, you're under oath, ma'am. You have to answer truthfully.
Not to the level of a forensic toxicologist, no.
Is THC or delta THC, is that the active ingredient or that's the breakdown of marijuana?
Honestly, I don't know.
That's fine. Let me ask you about your report that was entered, this lengthy report that has the photos, the CV, and your findings, and the toxicology report. In there, counsel read you the narrative about what was reported to have occurred on the day of January 30th. Remember that?
Yes.
And in that narrative, do you know who Officer Barba received the information from to fill that out? Do you know?
I do not know.
It could very well have come from the defendant, right? You don't know? No information.
That's correct.
But you do have indication in the report about the use of, I want to make sure I read it right in the report, the use of a certain type of weapon that was used in this case, right? It said an AK-47. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Is the wound that you saw, the entry, the exit, and the damage inside the torso of the victim consistent with an AK-47?
Yes.
What? She doesn't know bullets and guns, and she says it's consistent to an AK-47?
We have a lot of things with this demonstrative device here. One thing, let me just find it for it. I mean, do you have Government Exhibit 14? I'm going to show you.
Mr. Bones' injury is being documented in all its gory detail. Pan up a little so we can see the neck. There we go.
Do you recall that photo?
Yes.
And just remind the jury what that photo is again.
It's the inside of the right chest cavity.
All right, that's enough. Let's zoom in. Mr. Cameron.
The area
We've seen enough.
underlying the entrance wound, and it's showing the multiple rib fractures with the associated hemorrhage and the large defect in the chest wall.
The court reporter is creeped out by the skeleton peering over her computer.
First, I'm gonna come over to the skeleton here, and we've got this upright, vertical, perpendicular to the ground skeleton, right?
Yes.
Do you remember when defense counsel was using a pen to show where a possible entry was going to be conducted from a gunshot? You remember that?
Yes.
Prosecutor.
Right, and this is assuming
if you break it, you buy it.
Correct?
Correct.
Assuming the victim is upright, assuming someone is standing kind of right behind the skeleton here, right?
Correct.
And shooting at an upward angle with an handgun.
Right.
A lot of assumptions in this case, right?
Right.
In this fact pattern, right?
Yes.
Right. What I want to do, though, is talk about my 6, 7, 8 ribs, right?
Correct.
Do you mind coming down and doing this again for me? Looking at that photo, 14H, I have another.
I'm just worried they're going to bend Mr. Bones over.
Using
use a different demonstration.
14H, remind the jury where that is on the body. So starting below the scapula, is that the scapula? That's the scapula. I know some anatomy. That's the scapula, so 6, 7, and 8, right?
Correct.
Looking at that entry wound, or that damage to the rib, explain to the jury the likely entry point or how that bullet comes into that body, the angle of that body.
It's taking out this whole area. It's a large area of defect affecting or fracturing all 3 of these ribs.
And what kind of angle are we talking about when it comes into that body? Is it the way your stick is showing now?
I don't know exactly how the bullet is when it enters the body. I know how the bullet traveled through the body.
Okay, so then walk the jury through. First question is, if it hits a rib, can there be, we've heard the word yawing or deflection. Can there be a possible deflection from that bullet?
Yes, ribs are hard materials, and so once it impacts a rib or 3 ribs, its trajectory is going to be altered in some way, shape, or form. It's not going to be continuing along that same trajectory as it had before it fractures those 3 ribs.
So it's possible, doctor, that a shot from this angle to the victim can hit this rib cage at kind of a level line and deflect upward out through the chest plate.
Yes.
That's a possibility, right?
It is.
All right, you can give me the stick. You can sit down too. Let me take that.
Okay, so the problem with that scenario is that the 3 ribs next to each other are all broken.
To the skeleton, you got no information about what happened the day of January 30th, do you?
No.
You don't know how many shots were fired, what the victim, there's another victim in the case, what they testified to. You got no information.
No.
So hypothetically, I'm gonna give you a hypothetical. Right, when most people hear a gunshot, what's the common reaction by most people when they hear a gunshot?
To duck.
To duck. So hypothetically, if someone hears 3 gunshots, their reaction would be?
To get low.
To get low, right? And so it's not uncommon for, not sure this is going to be working, it's not uncommon for this person to be ducking out of the way.
Take cover, yes.
To take cover.
You're going to break
no
it.
information about the number of rounds fired or which round hit this person, do you?
I do not know.
That's not an uncommon reaction when you hear 3 rounds fired, then to duck or cover, right?
Objection asked and answered.
All I know is I saw the prosecutor getting horizontal with Mr. Bones. That's all I saw.
We also don't know the variable. We have a stationary skeleton in front of here, right?
Yes.
We don't know if this individual is moving or mobile, do we?
No.
That would change some of the variables in this case, right?
Yes.
Especially if someone's walking, skipping, or even running, that would change trajectory and how that bullet enters the body.
Objection, leaning.
Any of the variables impact the bullet with the body?
Yes.
Welcome, Awell. Good to have you here.
We talked about on cross-examination about abrasions. Do you remember those questions? You saw some photographs.
Yes.
And you don't have any information from any other witness about what they observed the day of with this victim.
Objection, leading.
It's just a yes or no. You have no information.
That's leading.
That's still leading.
I know.
Is it yes or no?
Stop.
First of all, there's objection. Please hold off on the answer until the end of the rule. It's a leading question. A leading question to question that suggests the answer.
Do you have any information of what was testified about what happened to this victim?
That's allowed.
On the day of January 30th?
No.
I think it's funny that the prosecutor doesn't know that he's like, a yes or no means I should be able to ask it. It's still leading, but it's a yes or no.
Did you see any photographs of the victim's pants?
Not that I recall, no.
You don't recall the victim's
We're
pants?
blurred
They had
again
holes in them?
intentionally.
No, I don't recall.
Just 1 second, Your Honor.
The judge sustained the objection. He asked the same question again. Judge sustained
I'm showing a
it.
photograph in defense
And then she answered
exhibit. I want to say it's AAA that's been admitted into evidence. You see that photograph?
I do.
Do you see the pants, right?
Yes.
Based on the photograph, I can zoom in. Any holes or anything on these pants? Kind of grainy. Check out this.
It's hard to see, but nothing obvious.
You're telling me.
Glaring.
It's really blurry.
The jury's going to have the photograph in evidence. Let's talk about the time, the pronouncement of death. You remember the questions on cross-examination about the pronouncement of death?
Yes.
And pronouncement of death is, I think you tested. Explain again what the pronouncement of death is.
It's when someone is examined and determined to be dead, and that is when the time of death. It's for the state of Arizona, that's the accepted, agreed upon time of death.
Is that necessarily the time of the actual victim's death?
No, rarely. Only in a hospital situation that the death is witnessed. Is it going to be the exact time of death?
And you examined the body in this case, right?
I did.
On February 1st?
Yes.
And if the time of death is 6:30 on January 30th, if the victim was killed 4 hours earlier, would your analysis of the body be consistent with a 4-hour earlier death?
Objection, speculation. She said she couldn't tell because of the length of time and the refrigeration that she didn't have that type of testing.
It's sustained, but you can try to lay additional information.
We talked about the cooling, putting bodies in coolers and things like that, right?
Correct.
We talked about the decompensation and rigor mortis and the time setting of that, right?
Yes.
Right, and I know you're not CSI here. We're not watching a 30-minute show here, so the answer...
Objection to sidebar.
Yeah. What's that?
Objection to sidebar.
To sidebar?
I'm sorry, I would... No, it's my objection.
The objection. You're requesting a sidebar.
No, it's to me, Your Honor. My narration.
It's not a
My
sidebar.
narration. I strike that. So let me go to the question about decompensation and rigor and so
Objection
forth,
is
right?
wrong.
When someone's shot and killed and say they died, not the pronouncement, they died, what's the timeline for the jury about what's going on with the human body?
So the three things that we talked about is all of them were the cooling of the body after death. That's going to happen right away, instantly, until the body reaches ambient temperature, meaning room temperature, the temperature of the air around it. So typically the body is warm to touch. Most people are warm. And then over a period of time, it's going to get cool. Well, that's dependent on the environment that the body is in. Underlying reason for the death, those sorts of things all impact the algor mortis. Livor mortis is the pooling of the blood. Again, That happens. Typically, you can see it on the skin surface within 30 minutes to a couple of hours. It's going to be evident. At about 12 hours, it becomes what I call fixed, right? Where you push it, it no longer goes away. Prior to that, you're going to push it, it's going to blanch. So about 12 hours, it becomes fixed, and it stays fixed. It doesn't ever change. So if I push on a body on the livor mortis lividity on the body and it's fixed, I know that person has been dead at least 12 hours, give or take, right? All these other things play a role, but that's generally speaking what we see.
Cameraman.
And the last of those is rigor mortis. That's the stiffening of the muscles after death. Usually that's going to set in within an hour or two. After someone dies, you're going to start to notice in the smaller muscles first, they're going to become stiff. So you're going to see it in the jaw, feel it in the jaw and the fingers first, and then it moves into the larger muscle groups. And it becomes firmer over a period of time up until that 10 to 12 hour mark again when it reaches maximal strength, right? So at 12 hours, the jaw is going to be really firmly closed in that it will take a lot of force to open it. It's going to take a lot of force to break the muscle rigidity in the arms and legs. But that does pass over time. So it reaches its maximal around 12 hours and then it starts to dissipate. And eventually, as the other decomposition processes start, then it goes away altogether and the body becomes very flaccid. But you'll have also green discoloration of the body, bloating, skin slip. All those things are going to be starting as well as when the rigor mortis is passing, the stuff starts to happen.
So you pretty much have a pretty solid understanding of what happens to a body after death. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So if someone come across a dead body, a body has been shot or whatever it is, and hypothetically touch the body, no pulse, but the body's still warm, can you determine in a period of time if the body's still warm when the death happened?
Within a couple of hours, probably. If it hasn't, if it's in the, it depends on the environment that it's in again.
Sure, just a second, Your Honor.
Okay, this cameraman, I'm not sure if it was happy hour or lunch or what, but.
Thank you. Any questions for this witness from any of the jurors?
Here we go. Yes, at least one. See if we can get a count. Turn the sound down before they blast our eardrums. Let's see, at least might have a couple here. And here is a picture of a headset, which if you were wearing, you would hear something other than what we're hearing. We've got so many creative camera shots in this courtroom. Most of them are probably going to get us into trouble. This one's okay. But if a juror leans forward, we could get a hairful. Bones looked a bit unwell. He may have a femur. That was funny. Let's see what else we can see. Let's see the judge's nameplate or something. Let's do that. Ooh, yes. There it is. The Honorable Thomas Fink. Tell you what, this guy, I can tell you, this camera guy has edited video before for the news. He knows what needs to be in the B-roll to be put together so you could cut together a quick story out of what happened today. This guy has spent some time in a newsroom. I'd stake quite a bit on that. Let's see, maybe do we want to go back to law books now, or maybe the seal? Let's do the seal. Seal will probably be good. There we go. Yes, I knew it. Getting all our shots in this afternoon. right. Looking good. Looking good. The news will be super happy. Everyone's going to show these, run the story, because they have all the B-roll they could possibly use for the story. They turned off the water and turned on the static. Did you hear that? That's where the shoes would be. The judge has written the letter B on all of his law books. If you ever get a close-up and you watch the green books, he's like taking a black magic marker and just written letter B. It's probably like, I don't know, I'd say it's probably about a $2,000-$3,000 set of books. And he's like written on it with a marker like he's in 7th grade. The bailiff boiliff, the boiliff bailiff. All right, let's see. We about done here? See some nods. Looks the state agree. Everyone agree? A little bit of rocking. Do we have some rocking? Let's get some good rocking going. There we go. Rock, rock, rock. Okay. Lots of nods. I think we're about ready to be done then. Here we go.
I'm sure you're familiar with that. So here's some of their questions. Question number 1, is internal pooling of blood consistent with the body being prone or supine during the time of death?
Prone or supine?
So the blood that was pooled within the body cavities, the 2 cavities that there was blood, was the sac around the heart and in the right chest cavity. There was blood in there because of the gunshot wound injuries. The body, when it arrived to our office and at the time of examination, is going to always be in a supine position until we move it in a different position. And so it shifts with the positioning, but for the most part, once we take custody of the body, it's going to be in a supine position, so it's going to be pulled at the back of those surfaces just because of gravity.
So, but the question was directed to whether or not you can state an opinion based on experience, knowledge, and training about whether pooling of blood has any reflection on whether the body was prone or supine during the time of death. This juror is trying to get more information about whether the body, whether there's evidence that you can testify to as to whether the body was supine or prone during the time of death. At the time of death.
I do not know.
Right, another question is the internal wound consistent with the bullet tumbling inside the body?
I don't know. I just know the path that it took.
Another question. Are there any definitive findings with internal organs that show that blood has not moved since cell death in the organs? Parentheses, I'm trying to determine if body organs show the body was prone or supine at the time of cell death or during cell death. And this particular question is directed towards the organs. The organs. So is there any definitive findings with internal organs that show that blood has not moved since cell death in the organs?
This juror knows some things.
After the heart stops beating, the blood is not moving anywhere other than when we reposition the body, which again is in that prone position. So the blood is going to be pooled in the organs on the same way that it pools on the skin surface as well.
A couple more questions. In your opinion, and all of these questions is, obviously if you know or if you have a good basis to know and you have foundation to know. If you don't know, that's obviously a fine answer. But The question is, in your opinion, is the path of the entry wound consistent with a shot from long or short range?
I don't know. It's not a contact wound.
Another question, in your opinion, is the entry wound consistent with a straight shot or at an angle?
The bullet takes an upward angle in the body. The trajectory of the bullet in the body is right to left, back to front, and upward within the body.
And that's within the body?
Correct. I do not know outside of that.
All right, very well. Excellent questions. I'll hand the questions to the clerk, and the lawyers can ask follow-up questions.
All from the same juror, I'm guessing.
Mr. Jen.
Real briefly, Dr. Tim, on the movement of the body, you've handled countless autopsies, correct?
Correct.
You've handled from when the body was found at the scene and then it's transported to the coroner's office, right?
Yes.
That body has to be picked up, put in a body bag, and shipped, right?
Yes.
A lot of movement goes on, right?
Yes.
No more questions, Your Honor.
That's the additional questions.
In relationship to that same question, I guess if I understood your answer, due to the movement of the body, the blood is moving due to gravity in the position that it's placed in, correct?
Yes.
So it's hard to say how it was closer in time of death.
Correct.
Okay, nothing further.
Any more questions or follow-up questions from any of the jurors for this witness? See none. Is the witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Doc. Step down from her excused.
Don't follow her. I know you want to, but don't.
All right, the state can call its next witness.
Yeah, approach the
Yes. But while they're doing that, so you've heard objections that I've been ruling upon. One of the frequent objections, more frequent than others anyway, has been leading. So let me explain what that is.
Mr. Bones is.
A leading question is a question that suggests the answer as opposed to being open-ended. So, cookies missing from the cookie jar. Mom says to Billy, Billy, isn't it true that your brother Bob stole the cookies from the cookie jar? The answer, the question suggests the answer, that is Bob. A non-leading question would be, Billy, do you know who stole the cookies from the cookie jar? Open-ended. And if he says yes, then a non-leading follow-up question would be, who stole the cookies from the cookie jar, as opposed to, it was Bobby, right? Now, non-leading questions, when a party calls a witness, they're not allowed to ask leading questions. It's their witness. They have to ask open-ended questions. Either party. Cross-examination, a lawyer can ask leading questions. Right? So that's where these objections come. Again, it's not a reflection on anyone's questioning here, any of the lawyers. It's just been a frequent objection, so we do it in front of you, so I wanted you to have some
Saying this
understanding
to the jury, but he's really hoping the prosecution is listening.
And probably next witness.
Who stole the cookies from the cookie jar? Who, me? Couldn't be.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. I do.
If you would please come over here and take a seat on the witness.
Get cozy with that microphone. You don't have to yell. We can hear you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Can you just briefly introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name is Tara Helsel.
Do you mind if I call you Tara?
That's totally.
Maybe you do.
Hi, Tara. Where are you from?
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
You flew in this morning, right?
I did, yes.
Long flight?
A little bit.
Not your fault. I don't think your microphone's on.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
And Tara, can you spell your name for the court reporter? Your last name, too.
Yes. First name Tarah. Last name Helsel.
And what do you do for a living, Tara?
Helsel.
I am a forensic scientist and the manager of the forensics department at a company called RJ Lee Group.
What does RJ Lee Group do?
So RJ Lee Group is a materials characterization laboratory, and it has a lot of different departments that offers a pretty wide range of scientific testing services. For example, we have a chemistry department that does things like water testing. We have a group that analyzes concrete, and we have many other departments. However, we also have a small criminal forensics department, which is the group that I am a part of.
We do concrete
What does that
and
small
criminals.
forensic group do?
We specialize in gunshot residue analysis.
And what's gunshot residue analysis?
So gunshot residue analysis is basically looking for particles that result from the discharge of a firearm, specifically particles that originate from the primer, which is one of the parts of a cartridge.
If I just use GSR for short, that's gunshot residue. Would that be an okay abbreviation?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So GSR, how many cases have you worked on doing a GSR analysis?
I have done analysis in over 700 cases, analyzing over 4,000 samples.
And how long you been doing that?
A little over 7 years now.
It's a lot of experience.
What was your background before that?
I had a Bachelor of Science degree in forensic science from Waynesburg University, and then following graduating, I started at RJ Lee Group.
No one knows where Wayne's College is at. We just know where U of A is at. So where is Wayne's College at?
Waynesburg University is in southwestern Pennsylvania. It's kind of close to the West Virginia border.
He just said no one's ever heard of your
Waynesburg,
college.
yes.
No one's ever heard of where you went to school.
You don't work for Santa Cruz County, do you?
I don't, no.
And in your practice with RJ Lee, do you often get hired by jurisdictions to do GSR analysis?
Yes, absolutely. Our laboratory does gunshot residue analysis for agencies all throughout the United States and also beyond.
And were you asked to do anything work in this investigation?
Yes, I was.
What were you asked to do, Tara?
I was asked to analyze a gunshot residue collection kit for gunshot residue analysis.
All right, I'm going to show you. I'm going to get. Actually, I think I can have you do it, Tara. Do we have some scissors over there? All right, I'm going to have you do it. You mind doing a little work?
Sure.
You cool with how much we're paying you to do a little work? Because I don't like putting on the rubber gloves.
Yeah, put these gloves on.
Okay.
I'm showing you up there as you get set up to do it is State Exhibit 130. Cut away. Judiciously though.
She's using the closed scissors as a stabby device. Now is intended use.
And for the record, the witness is opening Government Exhibit 130. Do you recognize the tape on that, Tara?
I do, yes.
Is that your tape?
Yes, this is the evidence tape that I put over the box upon completing the analysis.
And how do you know it's your evidence tape?
So over top of where the tape meets the box are my initials and then the date in which I sealed it.
Okay. And can you look inside there?
Yes.
What's inside there?
So inside of there is...
you don't have to pull it. Just tell us what's inside there.
Is this basically this bubble wrapped bundle.
And what? Do you know what's in the bubble wrap bundle?
Within there would be the gunshot residue kit that I analyzed.
Your Honor, I'm going to move to admit Government Exhibit 130 as evidence.
Can I get, sorry. Can I get clarity? Is it to the box or to the contents?
Okay. Obviously, the contents of the box. You want to open
Can I approach the box and look inside?
Sure.
Thank you.
There's nothing in the box.
Just keep it low, Tim. Keep it low.
Get low, get low, get low. Oh, no gloves. No gloves. Oh, she just grabs it. She just grabs it. Oops. Just take a peek in there.
No objections, Your Honor.
And then wipes her hands.
So 130
That's all we need to do. I'll just wipe it on my
Can
shirt.
you just take stuff out of there then? And
Hey, Amy. Good to have you here. Welcome.
So this bag was inside of the bubble wrap.
do you recognize that bag?
Yes.
Is that your bag?
This bag was not ours. This bag was originally sent with the evidence.
Oh, okay. So can you open that bag?
Yes.
Was that your
And
bag?
inside that bag, what do we have?
This is the gunshot residue collection kit that I received in this case.
What goes in a kit?
So this kit is composed of a number of stub samples. They're basically small vials that have an adhesive sampler inside that would, in theory, be dabbed onto an area of interest in an attempt to pick up any particles that might be present.
Original.
Okay, and how many samplings are in there?
There should be 5.
Well, if you want it.
Should I open it?
Yes, sir.
It's one of those uncomfortably close zooms. Do they fall on the floor?
Yes, there are 5.
Are they marked in any way?
Yes, they are marked with the numbers that were written on them when I received them, which is 1 through 5. And then whenever I received them, I also put on an RJ Lee Group sample label for each one. And those labels are also present.
This is one of those situations, just for the court's record, is foundations to be laid layered on the samplings. Those samplings come from, did it indicate where the samplings come from?
On the labels I put on, yes.
Where?
So sample number 1 is labeled as jacket 1. Sample number 2 is labeled as jacket parentheses 2. Sample number 3 is from pants. Sample number 4 is from shirt. And then sample number 5 is a collection blank.
And what's a collection blank? Blank?
Blank.
Blank.
Yes.
B-L-A-N-K.
Yes.
What's a collection blank?
So a collection blank is basically done to ensure that contamination is not occurring during collection. Generally speaking, may be left open to the environment during collection to show that there were not particles in that environment. However, since I didn't collect the sample, I can't say for certain how it was used in this case.
Okay, but you received those from the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Department?
Yes.
Do you remember the officer? Did it indicate anywhere in your report who sent those to you?
I cannot recall the name offhand.
Was your report help you refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Your permission to approach. Government Exhibit 40.
This cameraman is filming the trial as if he were filming for a news story, which does require, typically if you're filming for the news, they'll want 10 to 15 seconds of close-up shots without zooming, without motion, with variety of things happening.
I should have Government Exhibit 40.1.
Gave her the wrong stuff.
Did I refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Who sent those to you?
Detective Mario Barba,
Did it say what agency?
the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office.
Just so I have it written down, 1 and 2 samples come from the jacket. Number 3, the pants.
Yes.
4, a shirt.
Yes.
And 5 is a blank.
Correct.
Kind of like a control group, like a control.
Yes, that would be another term for a control.
Okay, and you did GSR analysis on those 4, or did you do it on the blank one too?
Yes, on all of the samples, including the blank.
So you do a GSR analysis on all 5 of those samples.
Yes.
What's your results on that?
They were all negative for gunshot residue.
And what does that mean, in your opinion?
Basically, it just means that gunshot residue wasn't present on the samples. I can't say why there were not particles there, but just simply that there were no particles there.
One of the reasons, so I just to be completely forthright, one of the reasons is the sampling had blood on it, right? One of the shirts had blood on it?
So I didn't receive the actual garments. I received the samples that were collected.
Okay. And what does blood do?
So blood can mask gunshot residue. So if there is blood on a surface, it could cover up particles that may be present so that you wouldn't be able to see those particles.
But those 5 vials, those samples showed the jacket, 2 of them were the jacket, pants, shirt, and the sample, no GSR.
Correct.
The state's trying to show that the gunshot was not from up close. That there was a distant shot, because the findings that she just testified to would be consistent with the shot happening from a long way away.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What is the distance that gunshot residue might show up?
So that really varies. Typically, the cloud of particulate that is expelled during a discharge can travel several feet, usually within about 4 to 6 feet. However, environmental conditions can also make that travel farther. And then in addition to that, there are some particles not from that cloud, but actually on the bullet that can travel farther distances.
If I have gunshot residue on my left sleeve here as I'm pointing to my left arm and I brush hard enough and everything, could I affect whether there will be any signs of it?
Yes, gunshot residue can be easily removed. So things like environmental factors or activity can cause particles to be removed from a surface.
Like washing your hands.
And if I take my right arm that still has particles and rub it against my co-counsel like I'm doing here and illustrating, is it possible that the gunshot residue would show up on her jacket?
I need that on video.
Yes, so just like gunshot residue is easily removed, it's also easily transferable from surface to surface.
What is the reasonable time that you would, based on your knowledge, that one should do this testing?
It really depends. So it depends on the circumstances. So studies have shown that with normal activity, gunshot residue on the hands will be removed within about 5 hours or so. With clothing, it really depends. If there are particles on a garment and that garment remains undisturbed, the particles will remain indefinitely because they don't break down or degrade. However, if that garment is subject to much activity, coming into contact with things, handling, all of those could be factors that could remove particles.
If the clothing tested was put in a bag for storage together, rubbing upon each other, could that affect the result?
It could cause particles to move from garment to garment if they are all bagged together.
If I brush off my right arm onto my co-counsel, could it remove it from my right arm and now only be on her jacket?
Yes. It would depend on how many particles are there and the extent of activity, but yes, that could be possible.
The gunshot residue needs to have exposure to an item in order for it to possibly show up on it, correct?
Yes. So if gunshot residue is on something, it's from either being near the discharge of a firearm or from coming into contact with something with gunshot residue on it.
Now you tested, what was the date of your testing?
So the testing was done in July of 2023. So the report was July 25th, so it would have been probably within the days leading up to that.
So you said July or June? I'm sorry,
July.
Thank you. So this is close to 6 months after the date of the offense, which has been noted here as January 30th. Did you know that?
I did not.
Okay. Let me strike that. More reasonably would be if you're going to test, you should have tested closer to the date of the offense would be a better choice, correct?
Once the samples are collected, no, because the particles don't break down or degrade. They're not going to go anywhere. So as soon as those items are contained, whether it's the samples or the articles, whether they're tested immediately or months later, that's not going to change.
What date was the collection made?
I'm not sure what the date of collection was.
Do you have anything in your report that says it?
Not the date of collection because we did not perform the collection.
So you don't know if it was collected in June?
I don't.
May?
I don't.
So if it hadn't been collected early, that could affect the lack of results, correct?
Not from the garment, because if the garments themselves are contained, again, those particles aren't going to go anywhere. So, for example, we've tested garments that have been in storage for a decade and have found gunshot residue particles on them.
If these clothing items that you tested was placed in a plastic bag and moved around, could those particles, if they're there, show up on the plastic bag rather than the clothing?
Depending on the extent of activity and how many particles are there, yes, that would be possible.
Now, we have seen what appears to be a gunshot close to the back, a little bit to the side. That's the entrance wound, okay?
Okay.
All right, and you don't know that, right?
No.
Okay. Now I want to show you something. It's marked, but I'm not going to be, just want to discuss this so you can see it first, okay?
Okay.
All right. May I approach the witness? And just for the record, it is marked as defense HH. I just want you to look at it, and then I'll ask you a question in a minute, okay?
Okay.
Danny, congrats on 12 months, and also thank you very much for 5 gifted memberships
When you
today.
had a chance to examine it.
Thank you, my friend.
Okay. Now, I pointed to an item. It's not admitted yet, but it's a photo in this case
What's the look
of
inside?
a backpack.
You want to buy a Rolex?
Correct?
Correct.
This is that motion.
And would you say that's a pretty good sized backpack?
I would say so, yes.
Kind of plump, looks kind of fat, typical height of a backpack, right?
Yes.
A typical fat
And
backpack.
backpacks are usually worn on your back, right?
I would presume so, yes.
So if I have this size of a backpack covering my back, wouldn't it be smart to test the backpack for gunshot residue rather than clothing underneath the backpack?
It could be helpful. It would depend, again, on the circumstances.
Well, let's make this more clear. If this backpack was on a subject, okay, that is now deceased, following me?
Yes.
Okay. And it's kind of wide, and it's about yay high. I'm reflecting, I don't know, 3 feet tall or whatever. If it's covering up the clothing, like the jacket or the shirt, isn't it possible, well, isn't it true that gunshot residue cannot penetrate through this backpack to land on the items below it?
Correct. If there were particles basically dispersing that area, and that backpack is the outermost garment, that could block the particles from getting to lower layers.
And you were never given a backpack, were you?
I was not.
You received a jacket, correct?
I didn't receive the jacket. I received samples that were labeled as coming from the jacket.
How big are those samples?
They are small vials. They are the vials in front of me.
Can you hold one up again?
Yes.
Shouldn't have taken the gloves off. Let's put the same gloves back on.
They're
That's good.
these small vials.
So it's just been swabbed?
Does it tell you on those vials where it came from?
So that information was provided to me from Detective Barba. So the samples were labeled 1 through 5. He clarified to me which of each sample came from. So he clarified that 1 and 2 were from the jacket, 3 was from pants, 4 was from a shirt, and the 5th was a collection blank.
You don't know where on the item?
No.
So far as you know, they're underneath the backpack.
Yeah, I can't speak to the circumstances around the items or the collection, as I only received samples that were already collected.
And whatever customers that come and need your assistance in your lab, they don't tell you when they collected it?
Not always, no.
Would be helpful, wouldn't it?
Not necessarily. That's not going to change whether or not gunshot residue is present on the surface.
Doesn't fade
So
over
this
time.
is not necessarily scientific or conclusive. It's just more of a helpful tool.
It is scientific in that it's based on a scientific analysis, but basically this analysis can just tell you whether or not particles are present. It can never say why there are or are not particles, or what scenarios could have caused this result.
Pass the witness.
Redirect examination.
There was no hole in the backpack.
Terry, you saw the image that defense counsel showed you of the backpack?
Yes.
Yeah, and that looked like a school backpack?
It just looked like a standard backpack.
And do you know the collection procedures that Detective Barba used?
I don't.
Or the determination of which samples to send to you?
No.
That's for Detective Barba, right?
Correct.
Your job was to look at those 5 vials and see if there's any gunshot residue, right?
Correct.
You know what bullet wipe is?
I'm familiar with it, yes.
What is bullet wipe?
Basically, it is from basically the passage of a bullet through a garment.
Do you know if there was any bullet wipe found in this case?
I don't know.
That's all the question I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness from the jurors? You do. Very well.
Yes, we do. Okay, let's turn the sound down a little bit. Seems bailiff boy is going to that same area of the jury box. Might be the same juror who keeps asking questions. I wonder what the headphones look like that the attorneys are using to talk to each other on. If only we had a close-up of the headphones. That is water. That is 100% water. This is not pink noise. This is not white noise. This is water. We're at 21 for jury questions. That's pretty good. Sometimes we've gone a whole day without any questions. But we've had quite a few today. We started at 16, so we're doing okay. It's flushing water. It's wet noise, not white noise. That was good. All right, here we go.
Juror number 10, I read this one word as experimenting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right, question from one of the jurors. Is your
We won't say which
determination
one.
done by empirical, experimenting, or with literature?
So the basis of the analysis, there's plenty of literature around the history of this type of analysis. Basically, we use an instrument called the scanning electron microscope to analyze these samples and looking for the presence of combinations of lead, barium, and antimony, which are specific to the discharge of a firearm. But all of that is based on really decades of literature and research in the industry.
Follow-up questions from the question of the juror.
Yeah, sure. Tara, would that be considered generally accepted scientific procedures and methods?
Yes.
Any follow-up questions from the defense?
No, sir.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. You can sit down and be excused.
Just leave your evidence. It's fine.
I just talked to counsel.
Uh-oh. Turn it down. So this witness was flown in. She testified against in the Melly case as well. So that's interesting. As we play with the lighting.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our evening recess. Remember the admonition of the court. We will begin again tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Please be in the jury room at 8:30 punctually. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right, so they're leaving, and we are done, just like that. That was it. That was quick. Out and out. Experts, do they fly coach? I don't think so. I think they're fly first class. It's got to fly first class. Waste of money by the state. It was a nothing testimony. It was literally, she was testifying and saying, we did the inspection, we did our investigation, we looked for what we wanted to look for, and we could not find it. So it's a negative. How do you prove a negative? It's tough. Why was there no gunshot residue found on the clothing? We can't tell you why. We just can tell you that there wasn't any. And it's a scientific test. Yes, they're actually looking for the presence of a chemical. There's something. I mean, you're using a microscope to zoom in and look at something and see if it's there. So it's not witch doctor stuff. It's not voodoo, right? It's scientific, but the usefulness of the information as to how much is there and why it's there, it's really anybody's guess. So. Cass, we are done for the night. We're done. That was it. We're all caught up. We're ready to go for tomorrow. Just an example of the weakness of a privatized system. No politics either way from me, though, says Teddy Bear. What day was this? What did we learn from today? Today, this is Tuesday. This was live. This was Tuesday. They just got done in Arizona a little bit early, a little bit ahead of schedule. Probably not enough time for them to go check out the ranch, which both the prosecution and the defense are going to go do sometime this week, we think, possibly on a Saturday. But the jury is also most likely going to get a juror view of the ranch, the actual scene where it happened. Walk around in the house, stand in the kitchen, look out the window, stand on the porch, look, maybe have somebody, I don't know, they might put some sort of flag or a pole or a flashlight, or it's probably going to be daytime, but they're going to have some way to look out. This is where the body was, and this is where we say the shots were fired from, and can you see that? And when you go out to where the body was found, can you look and you see the border wall? They're going to do all these things. And I don't know if they're going to be able to answer any questions out there. Usually it's silent. Usually there's just a very little bit of testimony or explanation that's allowed out there. But they get to, I don't know, maybe they give them all ATVs and they get to go four-wheeling all around the ranch, up and down the arroyo. Maybe, checking for some of the wildlife, things like that. Should be fun. How's the bathroom repair going? Virginia Little, every day I think this is the day we're going to start really building and getting it back into shape. And I end up with more demo. And I found out I have to do more demo tonight. I have to tear the ceiling out. So good, but at the same time, not good. That's all. I've got to tear the ceiling out, and that's it. Maybe a reenactment. They could draw straws. I think if they're doing a reenactment, everyone needs to dress in appropriate clothing to play a part. Yeah, because the ceiling, yes, I'm going to tear it's plaster and lathe on the ceiling as well. I think. I'm not positive. Don't think it'll play well for the state. Jen, there's just so many variables that I just don't know what they're gonna gain. I mean, unless they're allowed to go out there and put a big flag and a pole and an orange marker where the body was, and then say, okay, now everyone head down to the porch where the ammunition was found and stand here where we think he was standing. See that pole? Can you see that? I don't know how the jury's going to benefit. They're going to be sitting there looking. It was like, I just see desert. I see trees. I see grass. I see leaves. Why tear out the ceiling? At this point, Martha, I'm saying why not? We're going to be running some vents for our sink up through the ceiling and up out the roof, and it's easier to tear out the whole ceiling than to try to cut out a notch through where we need to. So we're just going to pull it all out. And the downside is you're ripping nails and cement, and my hair's going to be white with all the dust from cement. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a huge mess. We just barely cleaned up the other one. Thousands of little pieces of plaster. So I'm going to be sledgehammer over my head, banging the sledgehammer. Might just be cheaper to move. Amy, have you been talking to my wife? Oh man. Yes. No, I'm building a bathroom, you guys. I live in an old house that was built in 1915. Okay, it's a beautiful, beautiful house. It has a imitation Frank Lloyd Wright stained glass window in the kitchen. I've got a curved stained glass, not stained glass, but leaded glass crystal oval in the front. We've got a huge sunrise crystal cut glass thing over the doorway. It's beautiful. The house has so much personality. Unfortunately, the personality doesn't do well over time. And being built in 1915, it needs everything fixed. And apparently both bathrooms, including the floors, need to be fixed. So once I'm done with the upstairs, once it's put back together, I do the same thing downstairs, which is right next to me. I have to replace the roof, which is a 12-12 pitch and dormers, and I have 9 fireplaces in this house. 9 fireplaces. And anyway, it's going to be fun. After that, we have, because every time the wind blows, even with the windows closed, the curtains blow, the air just flows through the house. Okay. We have 9 fireplaces because that's the only way they could heat it back in 1915. They're little coal, shallow fireplaces. But anyway, the windows are all the original windows, and the wind just blows right through here. So in the summertime, it gets super hot, and in the winter, it gets super cold. So having to replace 33 windows I'm not even excited about that. I got a bid at $1,200 a piece, and I just I'm sorry, I don't like my house that much. But anyway, it's they say a boat is a hole in the water you throw money into. An old house is also a hole you just throw money into. I've already redone the plumbing, so we're good there. You didn't tell us you live in a mansion, 9 fireplaces. Virginia, it was a mansion. It was a mansion when it was first built. It was one of the biggest houses in town, built by the local doctor, a very influential person who was one of the people who got the railroad brought here. But it is a nice sized house. Unfortunately, all the rooms are exactly the same. They're all like 12 by 14 feet roughly, except for the bathrooms, which are 6 foot by 6 feet. Seriously. I mean, I spread my arms out. I can touch both walls either direction. How many bedrooms? Mine was the church rectory. Mine has, well, this officially is actually a bedroom I'm in right now. It was a bedroom when I first walked through it, because it does have a closet. So if we count this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. 5 bedrooms, and then we have a living room, we have a sitting room, we have a big dining room, we have a kitchen, and then we have a sort of add-on laundry room and a sort of closet storage space, and then we have an enclosed rear entry as well. So utility bills, huge, I tell you. You don't want to know. It's a very good sized house. I had 6 kids living at home. So, we had to do that. Is the add-on laundry room permitted? It was built in the 1950s, so I don't think they care. I don't think they cared back then. Now it's the bug sanctuary, Steve. You're fired. No bugs. It's a beautiful house. It's absolutely, it's amazing. I love it. I love the personality, but yeah, anyway, that said, we are done with court for today. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's been great. We're going to start again tomorrow morning. We're going to do probably some catch up. Might talk about some of the other cases that are happening. I might do a little recap on some of the stabby cases that are going on. And, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Can you park an RV in your yard? Yes. I have a separate lot that's just wide enough for an RV, and I can't build on it. It's too small. Are you talking Walter White type RV? Because then no. Upload some photos. I'll show you some photos as I do more demo, but it looks beautiful now. I'll make a mess again, then we'll clean it up again. The Stabby River case is interesting. I'm going to take a look at it tonight. We might sum it up or do some catch up. We might recap what's happened so far in that trial tomorrow morning if I can get the time to do it. But that means I have to listen to the trial while I'm tearing the ceiling down. It's going to be a busy night for sure. All right, that said, we're done. We made it all the way to the end of the day. Thank you to our amazing mods. Appreciate it. No backseat, says Ivan. RV is en route. All right, thank you. Ta-ta for now. Tonight, when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again tomorrow morning about 9-ish. 9-ish. Somewhere around there. I don't know when. But I'm going to listen to that tonight as I tear out the ceiling, because it has to be done before tomorrow. We're putting all the pipes in, and then at That's it. It's like 8 o'clock at night. I need to get to work, you guys, because I'm going to be working all through the night to turn this out. You guys have a good one. Stay safe. Be good to each other. All the fun things. Thank you very much. You guys are amazing. This is the best community on YouTube to watch true crime, and it's because of you. Thank you. I appreciate all of you. You guys are amazing. This is, I've said this before, but this is the best job I've ever had in my life, and I absolutely love it. It's getting to know you all and discover this community and the welcoming nature that you bring. It has been amazing, and I sincerely appreciate it. So please know that from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate this. It's been wonderful. Let's get some bathroom work done. We'll see you in the morning. Have a great night. We'll see you in the morning. Bye, guys.
Somebody just sent me a video of roaches fighting. I don't know who won.
Because he's the guy.